Psalms 144 and verse 3. Lord, what is man that you should take knowledge of him? You told me to ask for what I want. But you would take notice of this is what I want right here, more than anything. On the Most High mind, where is flowers? Where I wanna be. Father, I wanna be on that peaceful and that joyful side. On the Most High mind, in your mind. It's where I wanna be. Yeah. I just love my Father. Way beyond the sky, so amazing.
Hey, shalom everyone. Welcome into the Search Engine International, and I'm your host, Brother Gajo. Joining me shortly will be Elder Ricard, and we have a nice show packed up for you tonight. Alright, if you're just joining with us, you heard the infomercial before. We are promoting the GOCC network. If you're not seeing it or you don't know what it is, please go and check it out on the website at gatheringofchristchurch.org. Also, the academy starts on the 22nd of June. If you're not yet registered or enrolled, please go and enroll and be a part of this new academy. Quick announcement as well. If you're in the United Kingdom, and you'd like to fellowship with us, we will be in London this week, this Sabbath, alright, at the Peabody Community Hall. If you haven't done so already, please send us an email at gocc144uk@gmail.com if you'd like to fellowship with us and be a part of the church going forward, alright, that is gocc144uk@gmail.com, alright, and have I missed anything? Hope I haven't. Anyways, I'll come back and fill you in on whatever it is that I've missed. Alright, so sit back and spread the word. Let everyone know that we're live. Alright, we have a guest on tonight, and he'll be with us. He'll be joining us very shortly. Should be very interesting. This guest is an author, and I'll let you know who he is in about 5 minutes. Alright, so grab your pens, papers. Hit 1 if you have questions, okay? Elder Ricard, good evening, how you doing?
Shalom, brother, how are you? I'm doing good.
I'm well, man, I'm well. All praises to the Most High. Been a very good week here, and just here again to do it, you know?
Yeah, all praises be to the Most High. Everything is going well. A lot of things happening in prophecy, in which I guess we're going to have a show soon, strictly based on what's going on according to Bible prophecy in the earth. There's a lot of things happening, so yeah. And we'll have a show soon on this. But I heard we have a special guest this evening.
Yes, we do actually. Brother Israe is pulling him in now as we speak.
Okay.
This guest is gonna be very interesting. I've not yet disclosed to the listeners his name yet. I was just gonna wait for a couple of minutes until you came in, and then we could let the listeners know who it is that we have coming on. But okay. It should be very interesting to speak with him. I came across some of the information he was putting out, and it should be just to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Okay.
So,
I guess the information tonight. I guess this is more so a political as well as historical show, in which I think this particular guest has some detailed insight on the Middle East and the occupation, or what you would call, that's what they call it, the occupation of Israel, yes. Of modern-day Israel.
Yes.
Okay. And I think some of what's being brought forth, which is true history, can be quite controversial. So I think brothers and sisters out there worldwide are in store for a quite interesting show this evening. How long will the guest be on for this evening?
Okay, Brother Azariah is letting me know that he'll be here in about 4 minutes. But as for his time on the show this evening, I think we have him for just over an hour, if I'm correct.
Okay, well, we're going to round it out for 1 hour. Of course, after the show, I have a meeting, so we can't do any overtime for this particular show. I have about an hour meeting right after the show with all the brethren throughout the four corners of the earth. So, I mean, with the elders and deacons after the show. But we can't do overtime, so we just have to be right on point. We'll probably do just 1 straight hour, and we can do adverts and whatever the case is after that. Since we only have them on for a short amount of time, let's try to get as much information out there as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Also, I would like to say, thank you, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the meeting we had last week with Brother the irritated genie. I forgot to ask him. I think once he come on again, I forgot to ask him where did he get that name. But so I think next week we probably have him on and to fulfill our the point of obligation we made to say he can come on and give the brothers and sisters his insight and his understanding on what led him to his particular path, and is there any truth to it? So we're going to hear what he has to say from a Pan-African standpoint. And guess what? I've gotten some feedback, a lot of positive, but some negative feedback from the Hebrew Israelite community. What they say is, and I'm getting a lot of, not a lot, just a few who are saying that Elder Ricard and the Gathering of Christ Church try to be too nice when it comes to guests with opposing views. You understand? But conflict leads to nothing. And we've had shows in which it came to an abrupt end over whatever the case may be, where spirits try to come in and cause some type of divide, and none of us on either side are able to get to a common ground to actually talk to each other and understand each other. So that goes into if we're talking about we have the truth, what are we afraid of? Are we afraid of being polite to those that are without? Even Paul says that we have to condescend to the lower state, which means and be at peace with every man. So if they don't know what we know, should we bash them or attack them or treat them a certain type of way, or treat them as brethren who just don't understand right now and be at peace with them? So a lot of brothers out there think that we're supposed to curse somebody out and make them feel below us, and that's not the spirit of the truth.
I tell you what, Elder, right? What I've seen in my in my time, my very short time, my short walk in this truth, right, is that a lot of people come into the truth as a confrontation. They see it via like a YouTube video, somebody getting cursed out. So for them, all the truth is cursing somebody out. You understand? And if you're not cursing somebody out, it's not the truth. And it goes beyond that. And I understand the entertainment value of it sometimes for some of these videos on YouTube, but it's like how far can you get with that? You understand me? Without there has to be a dialogue go on where people can disagree. You understand me? And come to and speak. And not only that, the irritated genie. I believe that the brother was very sincere in his works and his efforts of coming onto the program, even more sincere than the brother that we had a few weeks before with 6 degrees. You understand me? I believe he was more sincere in just having a dialogue and just say, all right, let's talk. We don't agree on these things, but hey, we must can be able to have a discussion and at the end of the day, you'll say, all right, then, because we all facing the same plight,
exactly.
When the previous guest that came on, when he was correct, say that the Jews built the pyramid and it's written in the Bible, when he was corrected, he took offense to it. You understand me? Irritated Genie was similarly corrected on the virgin birth, and there was no offense taken. You understand me?
Exactly.
And when you look at it, man, I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for the brother, man, and if he's listening, man, I hope to talk with him soon. And when you look at what he's doing a lot of good work. He's raising a lot of awareness as to what's with the feminization of black men, and that's a real problem. You understand me? That that's like vaccines. It's real.
Exactly.
So I mean,
and one thing I really respect about him is that you can tell that even when things came corrected, he didn't dispute the correction. He just, you understand, he kind of figured that this was a discussion that should have happened a long time ago, in which two people on quote-unquote what you would call opposing sides come to some type of mutual consensus to see where do we disagree from. What is the point of disagreement when we all agree with the same point of protecting ourselves as far as the New World Order and the powers that be that are working against us? And I can respect that, to let you know that it wasn't about how smart he is, you understand, or whether or not he had more information than us. It wasn't that at all. To him, he was happy with the dialogue because he was able to learn a few things and understand where we're coming from. And still, the door was open for us to have further dialogue and conversation. Hats off. I totally respect the brother, because when he see that he's wrong, and that's another point. If we see we're wrong, we should be able to look at each other and say, you know what, we're wrong. I need to re-examine this. I need to look at this a different way. So I think that when people come on with all these degrees and all these extra alphabet before or after their names, I think those alphabet blind their understanding, or blind them from receiving. And that's the difference I see between this brother Irritated Genie really have a love for the embedment of the people. So, and I know he's probably listening, and there's much respect to him, not because of Pan Africa or whatever he's dealing with, but based on him as a person and his fervent spirit towards uplifting the people, and that cannot be denied. And I'll tell you, you can have a lot of people who are Israelites that don't have that. So it's deeper than someone just saying they're Israel or following the Bible. It's the principles that this brother hold dear to, and he's standing with truth. And who knows, he may come around. We're going to see what happens after next week. But real quick before we bring the guest in, because I know he's probably in queue. In response to some of the letters we're getting claiming that we're too nice, let me read this from Romans 12, and I'm going to start with the 9th verse. It says, "Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love. In honor, preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Most High. Rejoice in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Distributing to the necessity of the saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and do weep with them that weep. Be the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceit." So the scriptures clearly tells us that we should have love one towards another, and we should be able to condescend to men who don't know quite the same information we know. And that's what the Bible says. It's not always about a confrontation and someone coming out claiming they won an argument or a debate. What good is winning a debate when we're still fragmented, destitute, and the whole world is looking to destroy us anyway? So what good is what, you're going to pump your chest for a week and say, okay, I won a debate? So it's deeper than that. So I wanted to put that out there for those who think that the gathering of Christ Church and elders and brethren are just too nice. And I don't think it's nothing wrong with being nice to people. I mean, what world do we live in that you get attacked for being nice to someone? So that lets you know how yeah. What'd you say?
Now I'm saying, trying to bring truth. People saying you're too nice, and I mean, we have had discussions that have gone totally the opposite, where things had to get shut down, and then and people will still say that, well, we should have let the brother talk. I remember not so long ago we had a brother on who was coming with a new Bible, with saying that there needs to be a new Messiah or something like that. The conversation ended up abruptly because we had to shut it down there and then people said that we should have let the brother talk, and there is no winning sometimes with some people, you understand?
It seems no matter what side, no matter what we do, there's going to always be someone that will disagree with whatever happens.
Yes.
If it's abrupt and there's an argument or something go back and forth, they'll say we're being disrespectful. If we're nice and let a brother or sister bring their point, be it we agree or disagree, then we're being too nice because we should not have allowed them to say, you know what I mean? So I guess that's what's going on with this World Wide Web. You get all kinds. So we got to take the good with the bad. Take the bad with the good. All right. So is our guest in queue yet? No,
he's not just yet. Azariah is still there trying to get him in. So he's just asking me to just give him a couple more minutes, if that's okay. I was wondering, would you want to take some calls, and while we wait, let's go to the callers and speak to a few people while we wait for the guests to come in?
Yeah, I definitely want to take some calls. But before we go there, I want to put out there to brothers and sisters that we just concluded, and I thank the brothers and sisters who just participated in the last quarter of the Hebrew and Bible Academy. And I want to put out there that we have an enrollment that we've extended for the next one up to Friday, June the 20th. So we're here at the 11th. If you want to get in the next academy, which is the week after next, starting on a Sunday, June the 22nd, then you are to send an email to gatheringas1@AOL.com and let us know you're interested. We'll let you know exactly how to get in. And yes, there is a small fee, but for what you get, it's well worth it, because there's a lot of work that go behind the scenes to allow us to come before you every Sunday with all the documents. We send you the documents, we send you the references, we give you all the information you need to know to build from nothing. And a lot of work goes in behind the scenes. So if you're interested, send an email. We have the Hebrew Bible Academy, in which we have the news, up-to-date news. We have the Hebrew. Matter of fact, we just came up with some new breakdowns, new understanding with the Hebrew, with lawyers' part. And we have the scriptural study, in which, for those who haven't participated, understand that we send you the PDFs with the complete document with the understanding, references, and scriptures in it. Well prepared. All you have to do is sit before your computer and share and learn. And I'll tell you, with this information, no matter what scenario you're placed in concerning Christianity, Islam, Persian mythology, no matter what people are bringing out there, you'll be able to actually defend the gospel and bring the truth and show them the origin of their false religion, and slowly but surely bring them to the understanding of the Most High. So that's our hope, and it's been working fine. And if you want to participate, June 22nd, send an email. We don't want it to be the last minute where everyone is trying to get in and then someone falls through the cracks. So if you want to get in, send an email as soon as possible. Tell us you're interested now, so that we can have a place and give you the documents well beforehand to get you in place, all right? The other thing is, I wanted to say thanks to brothers and sisters for their participation in the GOCC network. That's going good. People are putting banners up on our site and able to advertise through our site and have brothers and sisters throughout the world direct their business to brothers and sisters within the work, opposed to supporting others. If you have a certain gift or whatever the case is, you can advertise there quite cheaply. Brothers and sisters worldwide who are with the church will support you before they support the world. So that's another thing we have out there. I wanted to put out there for them. So yeah, if you would like, because we really had we had to cut off the phone calls early last week. So because of that, yes, let's open up the calls until the guests come in. That'll be great.
Excuse me. Yes. Let me go to the first caller from the 302 area code. And, okay, one sec. Let me go to the next one then. Let's go straight to the next one. Let's go to the 714 area code. And let's go live. Shalom, you live.
Hey, shalom. This is Brother Cleo from San Diego. Shalom, elders. How you guys doing
shalom.
Today?
How you feeling? Doing well.
So far, so good. And I wanted to ask you, you mentioned the fact that you're going to be going into prophecy show, but one thing I'd like to say is that these so-called Jewish people, they're having open warfare amongst each other with the outing of themselves, and I wanted to know what you thought about that, Ricardo.
Well, what I mean
specifically, like the outing of that one liar, Donald Sterling, and then the outing of that other so-called Jewish guy, Justin Bieber.
When you say the outing, give me an example of what you mean, the outing, internal fight.
Okay, Donald Sterling is obviously a so-called Jewish person with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, because you all already know what that is. But they outed him and he put a lot of information out there that nobody asked questions as far as, well, what did he mean by this and what did he mean by that? If you go back and listen to his original tape. So for them to put that information out there like that, there has to be something to that. And go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm listening. And go ahead. Your what?
No. And my thought is that why are they openly having warfare like that against themselves? Because he's a high-ranking member of their society.
Okay, well, there's 2 points to this. Number one, Donald Sterling is getting up in age. And him getting up in age, he began to slip. He's always been the way he is as far as outward. And all of them really feel the same way he feels because there's an internal code amongst them. Anyone who have read the Elders of Zion's documents, the elders of the learned elders of Zion. If you hold up, there's something coming in real quick here. One moment.
Definitely, I've read the document.
Okay, real quick, because somebody has some music in right real quick there. If anyone have read the learned elders of Zion, you'll know that there's a code amongst them to preserve their nation or their agenda, and it's preferring themselves over others inwardly, but not tell others. Now the problem is Donald Sterling, again, he's slipping because he said some things out of his care for this young woman, and some of the things he said, TMZ and others had to jump on it quick. They had to really jump on it before it got out before the media, so that they can spin it a certain type of way. Because what he said, what people should have been focused on, some of the things he said, was never relayed to the regular populace. They made sure they put it out there where he was just a black thing, and he was just racist. But he said some key things. He said some key things politically that he wasn't supposed to say. And then by doing so, they had to burn him before it falls back and have a negative effect on their agenda. He said that he told his girlfriend, the woman that he was dealing with, his mistress, that there's black Jews and there's white Jews, and the black Jews in Israel is treated like dogs. Now, you didn't hear that when TMZ first brought forth the story. They had to make it out into a Magic Johnson thing. right, and divert the attention and edit out the information because they know that people have a short attention span, and they would immediately just jump on the Magic Johnson thing and focus on that. But he was really telling the people the true agenda. He was saying, well, listen, there's a culture that he cannot break from.
Right.
And he dropped that there's black Jews and white Jews. Well, if we would have known that, if that would have got out first through TMZ, then that would have totally gave credibility to every Israelite on the corner, no matter what they're saying. You'd have had a white man in a prestigious position saying that he know that there's black Jews.
Right.
So the whole thing is, in his old age, he slipped. And that can happen to anyone when it comes to affairs of the heart. But check this out. Listen to this clearly. But did he really get penalized? I don't think a penalty comes with you selling something for a few $1 billion. So if the real penalty would have been if he had to sell the team, and because of his scarring of the black community, the money would have went towards the people that he that he snared.
Right.
That would have been proper judgment. So was he really penalized? To me, he was rewarded. He was able to a few $1 billion. So he took some shut up money to keep it quiet.
That's a lot of.
Yeah, because they're not finished with their agenda. And a matter of fact, Gaja, when we have a chance, we need a show in which we listen to the full recording of Donald Sterling so that we can expose TMZ for them hiding some of the key points that was brought forth. Some of the most damning things that he said that not just implicated him, but implicated the whole system.
Yep.
The most damning things that was said that could have implicated the whole system was actually, I would say, covered up. And on top of being covered up, Magic Johnson is a part of it.
Yep.
You understand?
Magic Johnson is black boule just like every other so-called leader, so-called entertainer. All of them is liars, so-called pastors. They all liars. And they ain't got our best interests at heart, period.
Yes. So to answer your question in a nutshell, brother, if someone breaks the code, all bets are off. That's the whole deal. That's why Donald Sterling broke the code. There's things that's supposed to be internal amongst them that the population is not supposed to deal with. And through the affairs of the heart, he opened his mouth. Similar to the guy that outed the document, the learned elder of Zion, and he went public and started speaking about a private entity amongst the Jewish powers that's operating and controlling politics and controlling the way the world is, and the fact that they think that anyone outside of their race are goyim or cattle. He came out and they had to get rid of it. The same thing that happened to what's his name from the 13th tribe?
Kosler.
Arthur Kosler. He was internal. As a matter of fact, Arthur Kosler, he was a historian that was used on a regular basis as an expert when anyone would have a debate on Israel and Palestine. He was one of the main guys called in to represent them publicly until he came out with a book questioning their authenticity. When he came out with a book questioning their origin, then they had to burn the bridges, see? And they had to burn their assets because their agenda is bigger than one person. So that's why there's not really no internal fighting per se. There's people that sometimes step above the situation and get themselves in trouble. You understand? So
yeah.
But ultimately, the machine goes on. The synagogue of Satan continues to operate, and those that don't want to operate internally after making a commitment, if you try to do your own thing, eventually you get moved out of the way. That's how it works, one way or the other. I'm not only looking at this here. I'm looking at what happened to Katz, someone that was prominent in Philadelphia, who his plane just blew up last week or a week and a half ago in Philadelphia. Before it took flight, his plane just burned up right there. And it's people that are operating and doing certain things. If you're not following the code, they get rid of you, and that's just the way it is. And I'm going to tell you the biggest thing that I'm going to tell you what can get people out quickly. When the true agenda against God's chosen people is being exposed, and when it's pointing to how they are systematically attacking and trying to get rid of us. If anyone try to go against that, they'll move you out of the way.
Well, I tell you what, if brothers listen, and I'm surprised none of these so-called black leaders like that lying Reverend Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Louis Farrakhan, none of them said nothing about what Sterling had said. And Sterling let the whole cat out the bag. I'm glad you're going to do a show on it because he let the cat out the bag. But I'd like to see you do a show on that liar Sterling, but also do a show on these liars, these so-called black leaders called the Black Boule, the so-called black elite. I want to see a show done on them because they liars, man.
Well, that's a good point, and let's take record of that too, Gaj, and maybe we can do a show on the elite, or what so-called elite or boule. But you're going to come to find out the boule is not what everyone thinks they are either. When I say that, these people are not just people of the black community. A lot of these people from the boule actually got bloodline from Causaria. They have a mother that's black or whatever the case is, but somewhere down the line, a lot of them are just tied with the normal agenda. Like Frederick Douglass and all the others, they were all part of Causaria and just, mixed on one side but Causaria on the other. So we're going to talk about that too, where bloodlines come into effect, and that comes into effect even if you were in a black boule or a secret society. It still comes down to bloodline. Who is your father? Because there's some people that can't get in there based on because their bloodline doesn't link to one of the families, one of the royal families. So, Brother, you brought some good points, and I think is the guest available yet, Gaja? Before we bring in the next call.
No, he's still not here yet, Elder Ricard.
Okay.
We're still trying to reach him to get to get him.
Okay, Elder, you guys take care.
Huh?
I said you guys take care. I'll tell Brother Izzy I spoke with you today.
Okay, thank you, brother. And I'll speak to Izzy and them after the meeting tonight. We have a conversation tonight after. Shalom.
All right.
Okay, brother. Do me a favor. Just hit one, and I will just take you out the queue. All right. Thank you. Let me go to the next caller right away, and I'll try and see what's going on with the guest in the meantime. Caller from the 917 area code. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're live.
Oh, shalom. I wanted to talk about the baptism. Once you're baptized in the name of Yeshua Christ, I wanted to know the sins that you commit after that baptism. How do you go about repenting from that? Like, are you going to be judged by those sins? I just want you to clarify what happens, because I know the sins before the baptism, they will be forgiven, but what about afterwards? Because there was a scripture in Matthew, I can't remember, but basically had me in fear that, anything after baptism, like you're done. You're going to have stains on your garment. So can you just clarify that if you know what I'm talking about?
Well, there is a point of, baptism is only the beginning of the cleansing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But after the confession of faults within yourself, between you and the Most High, and you put your sins on the table, you ought to walk away from those sins altogether. You understand? Because there is a clean slate. But then you're asking, well, what happens if someone have a clean slate, but they fall to some past sin?
Correct.
Okay. Now, the whole thing is there's a place of repentance. There's things, like the Bible says, charity covers a multitude of sins. And if you're in good earnest, fast and pray, and in good earnest, is really remorseful for your sins, the Most High will forgive you for them. But you have to leave off from them altogether. Now the issue is, if you don't leave off from them and they still pop up ever so often, during judgment, all those sins will be called before your judgment. So if you die still with that sin prominent within your being, within your vessel, you will be judged with that spirit. So you still have time after baptism to get it out altogether and repent from it and leave off from it once and for all and never deal with it again. You still have a chance, just like a sick person may get sick again if they continue to do the same thing to get them sick. But once they begin the healing process and stay away from the things that gets them sick, then their body becomes stronger. So you have to look at that aspect spiritually. The more you stay off from that sin, the stronger your inner being, your spirit becomes, to where now you're binding that old man that would creep up and destroy you. The more you stay away from that sin, the smaller that sin becomes, to the point where it can't affect you anymore. It becomes a distant memory. The tough thing about it is, if you go back to it, usually it's worse, the sin is worse than before you had the truth. And it's usually a harder or a steep road walking up the hill. It's like going up to the hill, you know what I mean? It's not a downhill battle. It's a steep hill you must deal to overcome it, because it becomes stronger and stronger, because the spirit recognizes that you're looking to rid yourself of it. So the best thing to do is make up your mind once and for all. Pray to the Most High, fast to the Most High, ask the Most High to forgive you. Confess your faults once you went into it. Go to the elders, get anointed, confess your sin, and then sometimes you have to set up a network. If you know that your sins call you, especially when you're to yourself, you must set up some type of network where you tell the elders and deacons or whoever your support system is, say, listen, every time I'm dealing with this, I'm going to need some intervention. Can I call you? Can you call me? Every time I'm thinking these thoughts, I need to speak to someone so that they can help me through this, because no one can do it by themselves. Usually the sin creeps in when we're to ourselves. So you set up a support system because no one can do it by themselves.
Right.
And one thing about sin, it's always there. It's not like the sin will go anywhere. The thoughts are always there. You understand? So can someone be forgiven for them? Absolutely. But if someone go back to their sin and try to excuse their sin without repentance, then there's no forgiveness for that, because Christ is not being crucified over and over again. You're not going to keep killing Christ and putting Christ for your sin.
So that was very clear. Thank you so much for that understanding.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let me just move to the next caller real quick. Antonio with a question in the 302 area code.
Shalom, elders. Hello?
Shalom, how are you?
Shalom.
You got a lot going on in your background here.
That's actually not my line. I'm here too. I think there's somebody else still on the line there.
Okay, do we got some noise in the background there? Come on now, we on the radio now.
Can you hear me?
What's going on? Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if there was any type of structuring for any type of like mass relocating for the members that want to leave the country and go abroad, like Scripture tells us. Like, is there any plans along the pipeline somewhere where, we'll all be looking to do something like that together with our families, or like how, are we going about that?
Well, there is no, of course, we have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So no, there is no mass movement in which, okay, here's a time we can all come together and leave out. It's not going to be that way. But what there is there's an internal connection with the brethren, and we have another meeting tonight, right after this show, in which if you are connected with an elder or brethren that are operating and wish to travel abroad and look to expand your borders beyond, Babylon, that those options are there. But you have to realize there's many people that are just calling us specifically for relocating and going different places or traveling with the church and haven't built any level of rapport amongst the church or the elders. And as you can see, and as you know, something like that can go bad very quickly, especially someone dealing with a different doctrine, dealing with a lot of different things that we have no idea. We don't even know the people. So we figured that it would be better. Yes, we can help you with it, but build some level of rapport with the brethren and the elders we have there already, so that now, you have some type of backing, someone who knows that, okay, this is what this person is into, this is what their struggles are, this is how we can help them going out. So the best way to do it is to operate with a congregation. We're setting up regions, we got a meeting tonight on it, in which if you're looking to operate with the church, then we can set that up for you. No more calling and not getting no answers back and all that. We're going to have it where even if someone is not in your specific area, you can still deal with someone regionally who will get back with you and tell you what steps you can take for traveling, for going out teaching and operating with the body. You understand? So understand that there must be some level of caution on our part also. And we know the concern, and we know what the Most High say. You understand? So we're not saying, okay, this is what the Most High say, but, you can fear on your own. You understand that this is what the Most High say, do it on your own. That ain't what we're saying. We're saying is if we're together, let's operate together. Let's deal with it in decency and order. And you link in with elders and deacons who establish amongst the church. And obviously, things are still bad, but things can't be that bad to that degree where some of the elders and deacons are still operating there. So, still, we all desire for a better place and not to be dealing with that place altogether. But first, put in some works. Operate with the elders. Operate with the deacons. And then set something forward and say, well, listen, we have a desire to operate. Here's our gifts. This is what we can do to utilize things on the outside of the country. Now, keep in mind that we don't operate in some type of community where we're all together someplace operating in some people's farm, and that would all be ideal, but we don't have that. What we do have is the understanding of how to operate outside the country, what it takes to operate outside the country, and to make it where you can be self-sufficient and operate the same way you would operate if you were in America, as far as being able to get things done, making sure that there's some type of way of sustaining yourself. This is not like, and I'm going to put it out there, this is not like some Ben Ami thing where people are traveling together and they're in some camp somewhere and there's some overlord. We're not operating like that. What we're saying is let's expand our boundaries to be able to operate. And still, even if we're in the same country or in the same area, you're still over your own home. You're dealing with what you got to deal with. You deal with your own responsibilities. You deal with your own income and how to operate with your income. So I wanted to put that out there, too, because I'm getting some feedback, and some people have some type of, they think they have insight on what this is and think that this is some old Jim Jones, let's go to the wilderness and build a kingdom to Christ. And that's not it at all. It's expanding our boundaries and expanding our options, expanding our minds so that we can operate outside of Babylon, understanding the prophecies concerning it. All right?
Right.
So,
right. And I've been following the GOCC in NYC with Elder Gabar. So, yeah, we've been following for a while.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get some clarity, too. I believe you said the islands are okay, right? The Caribbean islands, if we were to, like, try to do this on our own, like, it's that those are areas in prophecy that will be safe, pretty much?
Well, what I've never said do it on your own, because as a body you want to operate. If you're going to deal with in the islands, don't you want to go with you know, Gaja have a bunch of brothers in the islands. He's from the islands. So if you're going to go to the islands and you're looking to relocate there or operate there, don't you want to deal with the brethren that's in the church in the islands, if that's your goal? So I would say let's build the relationship first. So you're asking me, is the islands a better place compared to Babylon itself? Well, the islands are actually a part of Babylon. You understand? But, you know, whether or not what's going to happen in Babylon is going to affect Jamaica and the other islands, is that what you're asking? Like the islands of Puerto Rico, what islands are you speaking of?
I'm referring to areas that were mentioned that were okay to go to in terms of leaving out of Babylon and relocating your family to places that were going to be considered safe in terms of whatever is coming in reference to destruction.
Okay. Well, I made that perfectly clear in Isaiah the 11th chapter. It tells you all the areas that the gathering will be from upon Christ's return. It makes it crystal clear. So if we know all these places are intact during the coming of Christ, in which people will be gathered from, let me read the scripture. Then that's given an insight of places that we understand that not only is Israel inhabiting right now, a lot of Israel will flock there before the coming, because that's where the great gathering will be. So the first thing we're looking at here is, according to prophecy, is what will still be intact after Babylon is destroyed. Let's just look at it from a prophetical standpoint, a biblical standpoint, opposed to a personal standpoint of, let me choose this or choose that. Let's look at it strictly from a biblical standpoint. First of all, if we're looking at this, we must first examine what will still be intact when Christ returns, right?
Right.
So let me read this real quick. Isaiah 11:10. And in that day there shall be a root out of Jesse. We know that's Yeshua, Christ, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. So we know that this is talking about the rest time upon the coming of Christ. So this is the second coming. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of the people which shall be left. Now listen to where they shall be left from. From Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar, and from Hamath, the islands of the sea. Now we know these islands of the sea is speaking of the Mediterranean Sea. See? Oh, So we know these areas will be a gathering upon the coming of Christ. So obviously, if we look in prophetically, we know that the West, based on its proximity and the judgment concerning it, will be utterly eradicated. And it's going back to the old world. So our focus can no longer be the new world or the place of our captivity. We must look back at the old world, and that's why there's so much upheaval and destruction and all that going on in the old world, knowing that that's where the gathering will be. All right? So we understand this according to prophecy. We understand according to Revelation 16 and 19. Let me read Revelation 16 and 19. And this is just the Bible. So this is not our opinion or our interpretation. According to the Bible just showed us in Isaiah the 11th chapter the areas from whence Christ will gather the people. So that's education. That's something we must know. Then we can see what's going to be destroyed and how it will be destroyed. When you go to Revelation, the 16th chapter, right?
Right.
It goes into Babylon. It says, in the great city, Revelation 16 and 19, was divided. Matter of fact, let me start at the 17th verse. And the 17th angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of heaven from the throne saying, it is done. What is done? He's about to bring the pain. Okay. 18. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake such as was not since men were upon the earth. So there will be a great earthquake. So mighty an earthquake and so great. Revelation 16 and 19. And the great city, and we know what city that is, which is America today, was divided into 3 parts. So we know there's going to be an earthquake on the fault line within the United States that will cause America to be cut in 3 parts. And the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Now listen to this clearly. What's attached to Babylon? The islands that are being controlled by Babylon. The 20th verse says, and every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed the Most High because of the plague of the hail, and the plague thereof was exceeding great.
Wow.
Okay, so we all know the prophecies concerning Babylon, what's going to happen. And even under the Pentagon, they have information showing America once the great earthquake happens and how they're going to divide it into 3 parts, the whole thing. Who's going to own what? And the point about it is, after the fallout, after the nuclear fallout, because there's nuclear reactors all along the fault line, and you have Yellowstone there that's ready to blow. And once Yellowstone blows and the fault line holds all those nuclear reactors that's powering America, that's what's going to cause America to break up and be a place that cannot be inhabited. You understand? So those are the prophecies concerning it according to the Bible. We all know what's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Wow.
It's inevitable. And I brought out a long time ago that people are hiding the secrets concerning Atlantis. And they don't know that America, or the place that we call America, was part of the original Atlantis. And that's why the Most High moved it far opposite of the homeland. The Most High is in the east, and because of the evil of the giants before the flood, he didn't want none of that near his homeland, so he moved that whole mass to the west. And that's the place we call America today. And eventually the land of the giants will be utterly eradicated. It will be judged once and for all. That's the place we call Babylon. That's the place that we all know is America. Okay? Now, the direct answer to your question, if you want to become a part of the very few to do, link in with the elders and find out what to do and be in the know on where to go and get some help with it. Do it the right way. Don't do it by yourself. Show patience. There's elders there. Don't just operate because I heard a lot of people say, well, this is what the Most High said. But the Most High also says operate in decency and in order too. So Some people, you understand, so just work with us, get with some elders, put some works in, operate with the church, you and your family, and you're going to know exactly what to do when it's time to do it.
All right. All right. I mean, I've definitely been following. Like I said, we, earlier this year attended the Passover and were baptized by Elder Gabar. We just completed the Hebrew Academy, so I'm following along. But I appreciate the answer, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit one and get off here. And I just want to say shalom to the elders again, and I'll be continuing to listen.
Well, okay, brother, and thank you. Some key questions. I know others have the same questions. So push one and go back into the queue, We thank you, brother. You know, I want to put it out there that I guess, I don't know, maybe the guest found out what show he was coming on and decided not to be a part of it.
Yes,
tonight.
We're still here trying to find him. We don't know. But tell you what, let me take a quick commercial break, and I'll speak to you right on the other side of this, okay? 1 minute.
Okay, good.
We're bringing the treasures of the earth
to the people of the world.
Amenez les trésors de la terre au peuple du monde.
This is your day to shine, your time to win. So raise your cup.
Hii coffee ni nzuri sana, kwa hivyo tunatakikana kukunywa, alafu tunasaidia dunia yote, trayendo los tesoros de la tierra a la gente del mundo.
Whether it's latte, mocha, the king of coffee, or our delicious tea, you'll soon see what all the buzz is about in more than 30 countries worldwide. Organo Gold gives you 200 nutrients in every cup. It's silky smooth and delicious, without the jitters. Drink the healthier coffee. Visit our site today at oneincreasecoffee.organogold.com. That's the number 1, increasecoffee.organogold.com. Kwame Yasharala.
You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show.
Okay, welcome back to the Search Engine International. All right, we're trying to get the guest in the studio now for the past 45 minutes. We seem to be having some problems with that, trying to locate him for one. So we're gonna leave it for a minute and see if he comes in. Elder Ricardo, if you want, we'll just continue taking some calls and we'll see what happens. Hello, Elder Ricardo, can you hear me?
I am here, brother, ready to go. I'm still here.
All right. Now, just saying that we'll see what happens with the guest if he does actually make it in. But in the meantime, I'll say that let's just continue taking some calls until then.
Well, I definitely want to hear what's going on with the guest because I heard he has some key insights.
Yes.
Some key insights based on what's going on over in Palestine, and I think that it would have been a great show. So. Well, hopefully he'll pop up. If he pop up after right, let us know. But in the meantime, let's finish talking to the brethren.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Jermaine in the 716 area code.
Hey, shalom, brothers. How y'all doing, Brother Gadget, Brother Edward Carr? How's it going?
Listen, how are you?
Good. 2 questions. This is gonna be a quick one. One thing is about I know in the Bible, even though I forgot the scripture, but it says when Christ says 2 or 3 in the gather, Christ is in the mix. I just want to let you know that it's okay for me to, even though I'm by myself from my area in Buffalo, New York, I just want to see if I can be able to spread the truth. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to have, 2 people with me, be able to spread the truth together or hand some flyers out. But I just want to see what's your comment on that, most likely.
Well, I take it that you're baptized under Elder Gabar in New York?
No, I'm under GOCC in Toronto. The brothers down there.
Okay. So I would suggest, because we have a meeting tonight, make sure that, that you're actually under an elder that's over a region.
Okay.
So we're having that meeting tonight. As a matter of fact, a few minutes after the show, we're going to have that meeting. I'm going to be on for an hour with them. And what you can do is contact us, and we'll let you know exactly what region you'll be under, and there'll be directives on what to do, how to teach, and it's going to be uniform. It's going to be white mitres, white garments, just everything going to be uniform. So we're working on that now. So I suggest you wait for that opposed to just going out there with no organization at all.
Okay. Do I call it, leave at this number here, or is it the same number I can get contact with, or?
Well, you can contact Elder Gabar. If you're in Toronto, they should have Gabar's information, and Gaja. Gaja, I think you've been operating with the brothers in Canada, right?
Yes, I'm over Canada at the minute, but I think my brother here is in Buffalo, in New York.
Yes, it only take me. I went to Canada. I got baptized last month, and it only take me like about 2 or 3 hours just to go to Canada, because I'm right there, right around the borders.
Okay, so you're closer to Canada than you are to get to.
Yep, I'm closer to. Yes, I'm closer to Canada than New York. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we're going to structure that. Everyone is going to be under the same anyway, so it doesn't matter where you are. We have a meeting that's going to uniform everything, so you'll know exactly what to do very soon.
Okay, and my last thing is, I know last year I was supposed to get in contact with you about the music thing. I think it was last year around to the Passover. My name is Shemaine, actually. I know you mentioned my name, but I forgot to send a contact and email, but I didn't know how to send an email to the Gathering of Christ Church for the music. I just want to see what's your comments on that one, too, for the music.
Well, just send it to gatheringas1@AOL.com. So what type of music do you do? You play keyboard? What do you do?
Well, I play drums and I do congos. I'm learning keyboard a little bit, but I'm more like in the studio, like making beats most likely, instrumentals most likely.
Okay. All right. How old are you?
24. I'll be 25 next month.
Okay. Because we are putting together a project now that we're almost done with. So I tell you what, and we want to put it out together as a church. So I'll tell you what, just send an email, and it'll be placed in my personal mail. Make sure you send a phone number with it. Send an email to gatheringas1@AOL.com, and we'll contact you.
Okay. Thank you very much, brother.
You're welcome. Bless you, brother.
Hey, bless you.
All right.
Okay, Jermaine, do me a favor, just push 1, please, and that will take you out the queue. All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Let me go over to the 484 area code. We have Simona with a question. Sorry, with a comment.
Hello, Brother Rakar and Brother Gaja. Good to hear from you again. And I wanted to ask you a question concerning the book of the Wisdom of Solomon. Was he speaking in chapter 7 about the Comforter? In verse 7, chapter 7, verse 7?
Okay, you cut out, sister. I didn't hear you. What you said?
Oh, okay.
And bless you.
The book of the Wisdom of Solomon in chapter 7, verse 7. Was he speaking about the Comforter?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, that touched my heart a little bit. He really went deep into his spirit and was expressing all about her. That was wonderful.
Yes.
I also wanted to, I hope that I have time, I had a conversation with a sergeant online, and it kind of like was a little obscure about why he didn't react. So can I read it to you so everybody can hear what our conversation was about? And my spirit just poured out on him. I don't know why I came out and said what I said, but he didn't really react. So here it is.
You said to a who? To a sergeant?
Yeah, to a sergeant. I was telling them to get out of Dodge. Listen to this.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, how was your work today? And I said, well, slow, and you? Good, getting ready for patrol. I said, patrol? He said, yeah, I'm a sergeant in the U.S. Army. I said, oh, you better get out of Dodge. He says, is this your last year? Meaning, he says, you don't know what the government has in store for you, Conrad. And he says, I'm in Syria now working under UN peacekeeping. Oh, I see, but the government will cut you off from the U.S. eventually, where they will put you right in the battlefield while they're sending foreign troops over our land to round us up like cattle. Please, for your sake, get out as soon as possible. He says, okay, thanks. I'm not telling you just to be sane. I listen to Blog Talk Radio, and they read articles that the media don't even reveal, and it's scary. He says, the media promotes, they don't report. He says, yeah, I'd like to ask you a question if you're available. Okay, I'm waiting. Baby, I'm setting up TTYL. I don't know what that stands for. You said you're under UN peacekeeping? Ha, ha, ha. There isn't any world peace until the Messiah arrives. The United States will keep destroying and conquering until it runs out of ammunition, and the other countries will unite and bomb this place down. The little horn is going to be devoured by the 10 kingdoms because of all his cup. All his cup of wine is full of perverse and foul drink. Get your derriere out of the prison. He said, Oh, the question is, are there giants in the cave of Syria? What does that mean, Sergeant? You're afraid to talk to someone monitoring you? He says, ha, ha, ha. Not really, dear. I said, oh, yes, it's the truth before your eyes.
Okay, sis, so you were speaking to a sergeant. Where do you know the sergeant from? Where do you know him from?
Well, he was through one of a dating site. I just talk to people, communicate. I don't date them. So it's just like a friendly communication. It just my spirit just poured out to him to get out of Dodge because, I think that the United States government is taking advantage of the troops over in other countries, and that's why I came out and said what I felt.
Yeah, but you don't think you're putting a mark on yourself by?
Well, they already put a mark on me in Google.
Okay. All right.
They already put me mark in Google because they were trying to say I'm violating. I already talked to Ramar on Friday when I was, revealing that the Israelites are the true Negroes, and they got mad about that, and so they said they were giving me a warning if you keep continuing on what you're saying, and I'm not even using profanity. You should read all the topics I go over and some of the profanity and the perverseness that they express these topics and things, and they don't even get violated or a warning like I do. So.
Okay. Well, sister, I'm going to say, well, thank you, and I know you're trying to do your best to spread the word and warn people, but you have to be wise. The Bible tells you.
You're right. I have to not get myself upset or put myself out there on the line. Yeah, I know that.
No, I'm just saying there's some people. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but matter of fact, it can turn out real bad. There's some people that are operating out there, and you may have a genuine heart to want to help someone, but you don't know what's going on with these you don't know what's going on with this person.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And you don't know what backlash, what can come back. So just be careful with these dating services and all these other things, because they don't. The web can be used for many things. It is not called a web for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a web because it can catch you.
Right, that's true. And I also wanted to say that I really feel heartfelt that these people keep lashing at you guys. You're doing the best you can to operate as a divine, spiritual conjugation, and I just feel that it's very sad that they're acting that way towards you. I think you guys are very classy, outspoken, and you just keep operating the way you should operate as congenial, classy men, not orangutan. Okay? God bless you, brothers.
God
Bye-bye.
bless you, sister. Thank you.
Okay, Sister Simona, just hit one for me, please, and I will take you out the queue. All right.
Okay.
Let's go to the next caller real quick. You're listening to the Search Engine International and Blog Talk Radio. All right. GOCC broadcast. Do apologize if you're wondering where the guest is. We are also wondering the same. I don't know, Elder Rakar, like you said, if you must have found out where he was actually coming, but let's see. Let's hope that isn't the case, and still given the benefit of the doubt and some time to actually make his way here. All right, let me go right to the next caller and the 330 area code. We have Sheena with a question.
Hello. Can you all hear me? Hello?
Okay, all right. Just before the caller goes on, Elder Rakar.
Hello?
Okay, hold on. We lost Elder Rakar for a second.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you,
Hello?
sister. Just hold it.
Oh,
Hello,
okay.
sister. Hold the line
Yes.
for a second. I just lost Elder Rakar. Let me try and get Elder Rakar back in, okay? Okay. All right. Whilst I wait for Elder Rakar to come in, let me just go over back to another commercial break real quick and see you on the other side.
You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show.
Okay, Elder Rakar, you there? You back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, all right. Just as I was speaking to you just then, the guest actually made contact. Said he's stuck in traffic, and it'll be 15 minutes. So we got 15 minutes till he comes in. He actually messaged us in, just apologizing. So let's give him 15 minutes, and hopefully we can get the show on.
Excellent.
All right. So let me go straight to the next caller that we have here, Sister Sheena, with a question.
Shalom, elders. Can you all hear me?
Shalom. We can hear you, sister.
Okay. Shalom. I just have a brief question, but I just wanted to say thank you so much to all the elders for your hard work. Elder Rakar and Elder Gaja and Elder, you guys have just really linked me and my husband to the right people we need to be with, all the way from the baptism to migration information. And, I just try to keep a rapport with the church. And Elder Gaja, I want to thank you and Sister Millicent, because you guys are really good with answering the emails. And I just appreciate it, and all praises to the Most High. My question that I had was, is there a Maccabees 3? Because I see part 1 and 2 in the Apocrypha and part 4 in the Pseudographia, but I was wondering, was there a part 3? And my other question was, if you could give me edification on Leviticus 19 and 19. I didn't know if that was referring to, when it says don't mingle your seeds, is that referring to like fruits and vegetables? I mean, I'm not trying to sound like silly, but I just needed edification on Leviticus 19 and 19. And if there was a Maccabees part 3. And that's all that I want.
Okay, well, let's deal with the first question. There is a Maccabees 3 and 4. So you got 2 Maccabees, and there's 2 other Maccabees that wasn't part of the canonization. All right, but still, they are authentic, okay?
Where can I find Maccabees 3?
You can find it actually in some of the pseudepigrapha. There's one pseudepigrapha with 3 and 4 in it.
Oh, okay.
All pseudepigraphers are not the same books. They have different pseudepigraphers also. All right, but usually it's you're looking at 3 and 4. There's 2 other Maccabees. I have all 4. One moment here. And the second question you asked, the second question was pertaining to Leviticus 19?
Yes, chapter 19, verse 19.
All right, one moment.
Thank you.
Okay. It tell you that Leviticus 19 and 19, you shall keep my statutes, you shall not let thy cattle, it says, listen to this clearly, you shall not let thy cattle gender with the diverse kind. That's actually cross-splicing animals to make a different species, like they do. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with the diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. And that's also, that goes in a cross-splicing and making their own fruits and all that. But then another thing is, you're not supposed to have seeds mingled. Like if you're going to have cabbage there. Not
that's
cabbage, carrots, potatoes. You understand?
Right. Like how a lot of vegetables are mixed with, like, they're made from 2 different seeds. So that's why I was wondering, is that what that meant?
Well, part of that is that, and it also talks about how you grow the seeds too.
Okay.
How you grow separate fruits and vegetables, because if you mingle them and if you do them wrong, then they're not going to bring forth their fruit properly. So things got to be according to their own kind. When you can't mingle seeds, just take a handful of seeds, mixed all up, and just plant them. You understand? Okay. So that's what that's actually speaking of. Okay. And it also talks in the 19th verse, neither shall a garment mingled or with linen and woolen come upon thee. That's talking about mixed linens. You're not supposed to, according to the law, wear mixed linens. You should be, if you're going to wear cotton, wear all cotton, on and on and on. That's the law concerning that. But of course, something like that, when it comes to garments, we have little control over the making of clothes today. So we must also understand when grace should be applied.
Okay. Elder Carl, I just wanted to say really quick that I watched a 20-minute video with you and Elder Loya about the protocol for migration, and I totally understand why things are done the way they're done. Like when you were referring to the guy that said he was calling himself Solomon, I mean, that entire video it had me laughing, but I totally get it because, you know, you want to keep yourself safe and other people within the church community as well. So all the Sabbath lessons and the academy classes, everything is just a blessing, and you got a real strong spirit and a lot of patience, because I saw you talking also overseas to some Rastafarians and the way that you kept your patience with them, because it really looked like they were about to attack you. So all praises to the Most High, and I just hope that He continues to keep His spirit on you. And I'm going to get off the queue.
Thank you, sister, and bless you.
Bless you. Bye.
And I would like to say, and I like to put out there that brothers and sisters have to be very careful because you have some people that come through, and that's why we're having this meeting that's coming up. You have some brothers who claim they're with the church and that they're dealing with migration, and because they're frustrated because they couldn't leave, whatever the case is, being whatever they were dealing with financially or otherwise. And they'll go link with some other people claiming they're with the church and start raising money and all that so that they can be relocated someplace. So using the church's name and these other people's money. So that's why we have to organize in a way in which things can't fall through the cracks like that. There's a lot of that going on. So I want to make sure that it's clear that just because someone claimed that they're with the church or operating with the church or have seen our videos, that doesn't mean they're with the church. So you start getting these private Skype messages and Skype conversations, and you have people talking about migration and all that, and with no order. And you have some people at the head of these things that are just looking at getting finances from you because they can't afford to go someplace themselves, and they don't want to operate in proper order. So just be careful with that.
All right. Hello, can everyone hear me clearly? Hello, Ricard, are you there? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. All right, Sister Sheena, do me a favor and hit one for me, please, and I will put you back in the queue. Thank you for your call. I'm going to hold a call for a minute right now. I'm just about to bring the guest in the studios. We do apologize for the long delay, but he's finally here. Apparently there was an accident on the highway. All right, so while I bring him in the studios, all right, just hold back, and we'll speak to you on the other side.
We're bringing the treasures of the earth
to the people of the world. Amenez les trésors de la terre au peuple du monde.
This is your day to shine, your time to win. So raise your cup.
Hii coffee ni nzuri sana, kwa hivyo tunatakikana kukunywa, alafu tunasaidia dunia yote. Traendo los tesoros de la tierra.
He's trying to come on through.
Whether it's latte, mocha, the king of coffee, or our delicious teas, you'll soon see what all the buzz is about in more than 30 countries worldwide. Organo Gold gives you 200 nutrients in every cup. It's silky smooth and delicious, without the jitters. Drink the healthier coffee. Visit our site today at oneincreasecoffee.organogold.com. That's the number 1, increasecoffee.organogold.com. Kwam Yasharala.
You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show. You are listening to an international GOCC Blog Talk Radio show.
Okay, everyone. Excuse me. Welcome back to the Search Engine International. We do apologize. Our guest is here in the studios with us. Hello, Mr. Pellet. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the show. You are on the Search Engine International. Let me see if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It's Miko Peled, right? Or Peled?
Yes.
Which one, Miko or Michael?
Miko.
Okay, man. All right, man. Let me introduce myself to you. I am Brother Gaja of the Gathering of Christ Church. Also with me here in the studio is Elder Rakar. Elder Rakar, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes. Bless you.
And we came across some of your work, a few of your videos, and we decided to invite you on for you to expound on some of your work. So I'm gonna give you the floor. You can go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners, and we can take it from there.
Okay, very well. My name is Miko Peled. I'm an Israeli writer and activist. I published, I'm the author of the book, The General Son, Journey of an Israeli in Palestine. I was born and raised in Jerusalem, Israel. I live in the United States now. And I'm an activist for Palestinian rights, particularly for an end of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict through the creation of a democracy in all of Palestine to replace the Zionist regime that exists today. So that's in short. That's a short introduction.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brother Miko. My name is Elder Ricard Shaw of the Gathering Christ Church, and we wanted to invite you on. I know that we have some time restraint here, so we're going to jump right into it. We noticed that you have opposing views, opposed to the mainstream, and your book is causing a little controversy. Can you expound on that? Why is what you're putting out, or the history that you've researched and your views, why is there so much pushback from the mainstream concerning this literature? What's going on in the book that could be controversial or could be deemed controversial?
Well, anything that any point of view that supports Palestinian rights is away from the mainstream. And any view that supports Palestinian rights is considered radical and receives quite a bit of pushback. And so, in that regard, my perspective is not unique. It is unique in that I come from a very patriotic Israeli background. I was born and raised in Jerusalem. My father was a general in the Israeli army. I served in the Israeli military. On my mother's side, and the book relates all of this. So look at the memoir, so it relates the whole history, the Zionist history of my family. And so that makes it unique. And again, the idea that, or the understanding that the problem in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is Israel. The problem is Zionism, because Israel was founded upon Zionism, which is a racist, colonialist ideology. And this ideology states that the land of Israel, which is all of Palestine, belongs to the Jewish people. And so there's no room there for anybody who's not Jewish. Now today, we have a reality where we have 12 million people living on that land, all governed by the State of Israel. The State of Israel governs everybody, so it's one state over the entire country. And the way Israel governs is, and by the way, out of the 12 million, only 5.9 million are Israeli Jews, so the majority are not Jewish. Still, they call it a Jewish state. And the way they govern is they have different laws for different parts of the population. So for me as an Israeli Jew, it's a democracy. It's a very free society. Then you have Palestinians who are citizens of the State of Israel, and they have certain laws, civil laws, that discriminate against them specifically and limit their ability to live a free and normal life. And then you've got Palestinians who live in the West Bank and Gaza, and military law applies to them and restricts their rights. And so Israel created these different sets of laws for different parts of the population, and again, it becomes even more complicated when you look into the full picture. And that is not democracy. That is wrong. The denial of rights based upon race or religion or ethnicity is wrong. And what the Palestinian struggle is all about rights. It's about giving back the rights to the Palestinians, first of all, to return to their land and to live in a real democracy as normal human beings, as citizens. So the idea that we need to view Zionism and we need to view the State of Israel the way apartheid in South Africa used to be viewed is today, again, considered radical. I don't think there's anything radical about calling for equal rights for all people, but that's the reality that exists today.
Okay. So you're saying the controversy comes in with your book and your information. It's actually magnifying what's really going on opposed to the mainstream, the propaganda, so to speak. But getting into a few points that's in your book, just so we can get the listeners to understand what's going on here. I'm going to ask a few questions like, some out there might think that Zionist, because you keep using the word Zionist, some people might mistake might make a mistake and think Zionists and the Israelites of the Bible are the same. So just for the sake of, education, put it out there, what is the difference that you can say to our audience between Zionists and the biblical Israelites in the Bible, or those that we will look at in the Bible? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's no connection at all between the two. The Zionist ideology claims that the Jewish people who live today in the world are the descendants of those ancient Hebrews. There's no historical evidence to that at all. In fact, it's quite well known that the vast majority of Jews that live in the world today are not the descendants of the ancient Hebrews. And the ancient Hebrews lived in the land of Israel, in that part of the world, some 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. And so the Zionist claim is that since we are all, as Jews, we are the descendants of the ancient Hebrews, and the legend has it that we were exiled, forced 2,000 years ago, we were forced into exile, we now have a right to return to our ancient homeland.
Okay.
Now, first of all, there's no historical evidence that verifies this. We know very well that the Jewish people today are not, most of them are not the descendants of the ancient Hebrews. So it's myth built upon myth, built upon myth, built upon myth. And even if it was true that the Jews today are the descendants of the ancient Hebrews, it still would not justify the creation of a racist colonialist state in Palestine. Because even if it is true, and 2,000 years have gone by, well, Jewish people obviously, made it and were able to live in other places. And the reality today, too, most Jewish people live in other places. And when the Zionists began their campaigns and even when they established the State of Israel, most Jewish people didn't go to live there. Even the people who suffered the Holocaust didn't go to live in Palestine. Most of them didn't emigrate to Palestine. Most of them either stayed in Europe or went to America. So the claim that the Zionists made all these claims, but none of them are true. They're all built on myth.
Okay. Well, we're going to go into this agenda because I'm sure, because going over, I didn't get a chance to read the whole book, but I was able to actually just look at some of the content and what the mainstream is saying against it. So I'm just going to hit some of those points due to time. But before I go there, and again, I'd like to thank you for being on this evening. I'd like to ask you this because, of course, this radio show is worldwide. We have a diverse audience all over the world. But myself, I have a background from the Baptist Church. I grew up believing that we should support Israel, that the that the Israelites are the Jewish people, the descendants of the Europeans we see in Israel today, that we should support them. I also grew up believing, of course, that based on the movies in Hollywood, that Christ was the same. He was Jewish or a white Jewish or European Jewish, and the same with the disciples. That's our only our connection in the church is that most people in the church, black churches, believe in Jesus, and we equate them with the Jesus in the Bible based on our upbringing. And we support Israel. It was quite a shock to me a couple of weeks ago when I heard some of Donald Sterling's statements in which he said in this conversation that there's black Jews and white Jews with different cultures in Israel, and that the black Jews in Israel is being treated like dogs. And it was quite shocking, someone there making such a statement in his position, in which, when we look at it from America's standpoint, we've always supported Israel, thinking that there was a connection between Christ and them. Can you expound on that, just from a political standpoint? Like, expound on that, like.
I've heard this before. I was in Atlanta a couple of times, and I was going to speak at one of the churches, and somebody asked me that morning. I had a meeting in the morning, and the lecture was in the evening, and they said to me, "Are you out of your mind? You're going to go into a church and you're going to tell people that God didn't give these people the land, and you're going to tell these people who are avid believers and very, very strong believers that the Jews today, how are you going to say this? So there's several issues here. I think the first thing we need to do is we need to separate faith and religion from politics. This is a political issue. And of course the Zionists are trying to pull religion into it and to create this impression that there is this component, but it's not. Zionism and the Zionists, especially the early Zionists, were completely secular people. They did not believe in God. They thought that the Bible, they made the whole issue of being Jewish into a secular issue. They did not observe the Jewish faith at all. But they thought that being Jewish was like being an American. It was a nation thing. It was like being part of a nation, which of course is not true. That's why most Jewish people did not accept it. But here in America and around the world, people kind of bought into this idea, this messianic idea, that, the Jews are returning once again to the land of Israel, and after suffering for so many years and so on, they are returning to reclaim their rights and reclaim their land. Now, this is a very romantic story. It's almost biblical, actually, except it's not true.
Okay.
Because this is not what happened. The Zionists were supported by white racist Europeans. The early Zionists were white racist Europeans who happened to be Jewish. They were completely secular Jews. None of them believed in God or anything like that, or observed any Jewish laws. And they went to create a secular European racist colonialist state for themselves in Palestine at the expense of the Palestinian people who were living there. And because the Zionists did such a good job promoting this idea, they were successful. And because they were European, and because the powers that be were European, and because everybody was racist, so they thought there's nothing wrong with white people taking the land that belongs to brown people. And so we have the Balfour Declaration, which is a declaration that was made by Lord Balfour, who was the Foreign Secretary, the British Foreign Secretary, who, after World War I, promised his friend, Lord Rothschild, who was a white Jewish man who was British as well, and he promised to him that the British will do everything they can to allow the Jewish people to create a homeland in Palestine. He thought he had the right to give Palestine to his friends, Lord Rothschild and some Jews. And then later on the United Nations came and they decided to split Palestine and to give a larger portion of it to the Jews. Of course, the Palestinians who own the land, who live on the land, who are the natives of the land, because they were not European, were never part of this equation. They had to accept this. And they suffered greatly from this. Now, the other issue that you raised is the issue of the different races among the Jews within Israel. Now, this is true. The early Zionists, like I said, were white European. They didn't care for any people of color. What happened after the State of Israel was established, the European Jews didn't come. Holocaust survivors, the very Jewish people who suffered the most, who survived this horrendous hell through the Holocaust, the vast majority decided to either stay in Europe and rebuild themselves or come to America. Other European American Jews didn't want to come either. They were happy in America. So then they decided, well, perhaps we'll bring the Jews from Arab countries, because there are many, many Jewish people, large Jewish communities in Arab countries who were there for centuries, in some places more than 1,000 years. In Iraq, in Baghdad, there was a Jewish community that claimed a 2,000-year history. In Yemen, in Syria, in Egypt, in Morocco, all these countries had large prosperous Jewish communities who had no intention of coming. So the Zionists tried to bring them, and they were able to bring some of them. It's a long story, I won't get into it, but some of them did come. But when they came, the European Jews looked at the European Zionists, and I don't like to use the word Jews, because I don't think it's fair to implicate all Jews with the crime of racism that the Zionists are tainted with. So it's not fair to say all Jews, but these Zionists are particular Jews who believe in this thing, in the creation of a Jewish state. So when the Jews from Arab countries came, these Zionists who were Europeans looked at them. They had brown skin. They were dressed like Arabs. They had Arab culture, which the Europeans thought was inferior. And they treated them horribly. First of all, when they came, they sprayed them with DDT because they thought they must be infested with bugs, because they must be filthy, because they're Arabs, they're lower class people. And it didn't matter if they were doctors or teachers or laborers. They all put them in docks. They made them do manual labor. They put them in kind of camps, internment camps, and kept them there for years in terrible poverty, with terrible conditions. And they created a whole underclass of Israelis who were these people. And they tried to tell them that in order to be an Israeli, they need to speak like me and look like me. I have fair skin and I speak with a certain accent, That coming and speaking with their accent, which sounds like more like Arabic, is wrong. And this has been going on, for 65 years now. So this is, so they brought these Jewish communities and then treated them like they were lesser people. And the next chapter of this tragedy is that over the last 20 years, they've been bringing tribes from Ethiopia who claim to have some connection to Judaism. And they are treated even worse. And the racism against them in Israel is horrendous. And they supposedly brought them to save them. Many of them are now saying, we wish we didn't come. We want to go back. Why did you bring us here? Because the conditions and the racism and the segregation and the deprivation that they have to suffer is so horrific that, again, it's enough for a whole other show. So it's true that within Israel, without even the Palestinian question, among Israeli Jews, there's terrible racism. There's terrible, but the Zionism, because it's a racist ideology, is racist all around. When you're a racist, you're a racist. You're not only a racist, racism doesn't only apply towards one race. It applies to anybody who you feel is beneath you. And typically it's white people, white Europeans, who think that everybody else is beneath them. Okay. So you've got all these layers of problems within the Jewish community inside Israel. And we haven't even touched on the fact that half the population who lives under Israeli government, under Israeli control, are not even Jewish, they're Palestinians. And the Israelis claim that this is a Jewish state. How can it be a Jewish state when more than half of the population is not Jewish? And the people who govern the country, they're not they're not all necessarily observant Jews. Some of them don't, So there's really nothing Jewish, but they were very successful in creating this myth and getting people of faith around the world, particularly Christian, to support this. And I think another element that exists here in the U.S., and thankfully does not exist in South Africa. I was just in South Africa, and the South Africans, by and large, and the African National Congress support the Palestinian cause very strongly. But here in America, because many Jewish people supported the struggle for civil rights and marched with Dr. King and so on, there was this impression that, well, the Jews supported us, now we need to support the Jews. But these are not the same Jews. In other words, Israel is a racist state. Okay. So supporting Israel, especially if you come from the African American experience, supporting Israel is absolutely the wrong thing to do.
Well, we're going to touch on that. We have Miko Peled here, who has a very controversial but true book. Can you put the title to your book out there so that our listeners can take a look at it? Miko?
I'm sorry, yes? What?
Yeah, can you first, before I bring the next line of questions, can you put out the title of your book so that...
Oh, it's The General Son. It's called The General Son, Journey of an Israeli in Palestine.
The General Son. Make sure you all take a look at this, given the true understanding of what's really going on in Israel. Let me ask you this question, sir, because obviously you've done the research. You say that these people, and based on a lot of research we've done, it's sort of corroborating a lot of what you're saying, everything you're saying here concerning this was more political than the Jewish people inhabiting Israel or occupying Israel. It's more political than religious. As far as them going there. It was a well sought out, it was a plot, it was a plan, well orchestrated plan as far as we can see. Let me ask you this, because some people might say, okay, well, these Zionists that control Israel today, okay, they are not the Jews. They are not the biblical Israelites. Well, if you can say who they're not, you must know who they are. Like, who are they? There's many ancient families that are still operating in the earth. You got the Romans. You got the British monarchy that links directly to the Roman Empire. Who are these people living and controlling the world from Israel? Or who are these Zionists? Who are they? What is their bloodline? Who are they? According to your
research. Well, they are Europeans. It's hard to say. I mean, they're Europeans. I mean, who's to say what's a bloodline? I mean, it's kind of a bit of an old-fashioned idea to think there is such a thing as a direct and clean bloodline. The larger communities, Jewish communities in Eastern Europe, and in many places in the Middle East, we know this now, were the result of massive conversions. There were lots of conversions to Judaism throughout history, in Europe, in the Middle East, in other parts of the world, where entire nations or entire tribes, entire groups of people converted to Judaism. Okay. There's an excellent book by an Israeli historian called The Creation of the Jewish People.
Yeah, I have that.
I recommend it highly. It really relates a lot of the history behind the creation of this idea of a Jewish people.
Okay.
And so I strongly recommend, I'm sorry, not the creation, the invention of the Jewish people.
The invention, yeah.
Yeah, and this is written by an Israeli historian who teaches history in Tel Aviv University. And again, it's a topic that you could have an entire show focused on that. But these are basically people who were Jewish for all kinds of different reasons. Their ancestors converted at one point or another, and they are, and at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, there was this revival of the nations and the idea of nations and nationalism and all this. And this particular group of people decided that they were all highly educated people. They were all doctors and physicists and so on. They were, like I said, completely secular people. They were not religious people. In fact, they left Orthodox Judaism and they left their Orthodox families and their Orthodox background completely because they wanted a Western modern education. They looked European. They were white. They shaved their beards. I mean, they looked like European, intellectuals and so forth, and aristocracy. And they created this ideology called Zionism, that the Jewish people need to, first of all, like I said, that the Jews are a people as opposed to being, people who have a religion. So instead of saying you have French Jews and American Jews and German Jews and Iraqi Jews, they said we are all Jewish people. And because we were exiled, we live in a diaspora. Well, that's not true. So then they established this, and they were very good, and they were able to create the state of Israel as we know it today. And the reason we have such problems in Israel, the reason there's an Israeli-Palestinian conflict, is because the roots of Zionism and the ideology upon which the state of Israel was established is a racist ideology, the same as apartheid South Africa. The Israeli Jews are like the whites in South Africa. We are all either settler immigrants or the children of settler immigrants, or grandchildren, in my case, of settler immigrants. There was not a Jewish community. There were very few Jewish people who lived in Palestine throughout history. The vast majority of Israeli people came over the last 60, 70, 80 years, to colonize and settle there. Okay. In many ways, it's like we are the whites. We are exactly like the whites of South Africa, and we established a regime there that resembles apartheid in South Africa, which is a regime over there was only for whites. Over here, they created it only for they have exclusive rights for Jewish people.
Okay. So really, in a nutshell, so that for the listeners who has just come in, the biblical stories, them being Israelites, that's just a cloak for a more sinister plan. as we can see. Let me ask you this, because you've studied the politics of Zionism, and, I mean, no one can be more credible than a person who's from Israel, yourself, and born, you know, an Israeli Jew or through family. And I want to talk about that because I'm sure some people would deem you some level of a traitor to some degree for coming with some of this information. I'm going to go into that, you personal, in a moment. But before I go there, let me ask you this. What's the perfect world for a Zionist? When I say that, if they were to accomplish everything according to their agenda, what type of world would we have?
If they could have their way, then Palestinians would all be thrown out of their homes. They would complete the ethnic cleansing of the country completely, and create a homogeneous, if there's such a thing as a homogeneous, but a completely Jewish state with no minorities, with no Palestinians in it. Imagine the perfect world for white racists in the southern states in the United States, or the perfect world for racist apartheid in apartheid South Africa. It's the total ethnic cleansing of these other people, which they deem to be lesser people. And you know, it's interesting because the whites in South Africa, and even the Americans, many of the settlers who came to settle here in America, that came from Europe, saw themselves as returning to the promised land. And they used all these biblical ideas as though they were the Hebrews returning to the home, or going into the promised land. So it's a theme that many racist settler colonizers used over history. The Zionists were not new, except that in their case they were Jews and they were actually going to a land that Jews, you know, inhabited some 2,000-3,000 years earlier. So they had a little bit of an edge. But this idea of using, you know, or I should say abusing the biblical stories and people's faith in order to colonize and settle somebody else's land is quite common.
Okay. So going back to the question concerning yourself, if you don't mind, what type of pushback have you received coming forth with this type of information? I mean, isn't the Zionist agenda in your interest as a Israeli or as a born Jew, according to, you know, the status quo? What benefit is it for you bringing forth this information against those when they have worked so hard to make sure that the world is a better place for your kind from their standpoint? Why rock the boat?
Well, if you believe in justice, then you believe in justice, and that's how it is. If you believe in equality, if you have principles, you have principles. It doesn't matter whose side, you know, where you happen to have been born. If you believe in justice and you see injustice, you have to call it and you have to try to remedy it. You know, that's just the way it is. The fact that I happen to be Jewish and I happen to be born an Israeli doesn't mean I need to be blind. I see injustice, and I think it's important. Now, mind you, it took a long time before I saw it because Israel is so segregated that as an Israeli, you know, I never met Palestinians. I met Palestinians for the first time when I was in the United States. And I was born and raised in Jerusalem, which is a mixed city. So, of course, you see each other, but you never meet. You never have an opportunity to talk. You have nothing in common. And that's what racism and that's what segregation is all about. So the segregation is so deep. So I grew up, you know, a privileged life. I lived a privileged life, as you know, as typical in racist societies where the privileged are privileged. And I never met Palestinians until I was living in this country. Like I said, I was already 39 years old, and in fact, the chapter in the book that talks about the beginning of my journey, so to speak, into Palestine. Begins with the lines, my journey into Palestine began in San Diego, which is where I lived, and I was 39 years old. And what's interesting is this you know, I was born and raised you know, they like to say that Jerusalem is a mixed city. But the segregation is so strong that doesn't happen. You know, there's no meeting. There's no way for Israelis and Palestinians to ever get together and meet and talk. I mean, we speak different languages.
Okay. All right. Well, I have another question just going back, because let's go back in history a little bit, because I guess in order to really combat this agenda, we must understand, let me ask you this. I was looking at it. Now most historians say that this is a myth, but it's out there about the learned elders of Zion. That's number one. Number two, Albert Pike, a known Mason who's prominent within the United States as far as the forerunner for Masonry. We have a statue outside of Washington, D.C. He's reverenced as one of the top Masons within the United States. Also Jewish background, Albert Pike. That he actually, Albert Pike. Have you heard of him?
I can't say I have. No.
Okay, well just in line with what you're bringing forth. Albert Pike he wrote a memoir, or more so of what I would say the future political agenda for the Jewish race, and said that there will be 3 world wars, that they would shape communism against the Americans' democracy, that they would make Russia a more atheistic type country, that they would demoralize the earth with immorality, and there will be 3 world wars in the earth, the last against the Middle East, before Israel can have total dominance. Also, that they would have a war that would lead to the occupation of Israel. Just in a nutshell, to show you that this agenda was put in place well before the 1900s, if you follow Albert Pike. So if this agenda is right on course, and they have accomplished everything that they set out to do, I'm not just speaking of Israel, I'm talking about worldwide. If they continue to be able to do what they're doing and accomplish their full agenda outside of Palestine, or the Palestinians being ethnically cleansed, what do you think is going to happen with the world? Do you think it stops at Israel as far as this ethnic cleansing? And if not, what can be done from your standpoint, from a political standpoint, strictly from what you know? How can they be stopped? And keep in mind that they're okay. Go ahead.
What I know is that legalized racism in the United States was forced to end. And although things are far from being perfect in terms of race relations and in terms of the status of African Americans and other minorities, things are far from perfect, but the legalized racism was forced to end, and there is no more Jim Crow. I know that in South Africa, apartheid fell. And I know that in Latin America, all these horrific dictatorships, military dictatorships, they were all supported by the U.S. and by the CIA particularly, all fell. Even though they were supported by all these very strong powers, they all fell because justice prevailed. I think justice prevailed. And I think Palestine is going to be the same. I think Zionism is going to end up, more and more people are realizing that Zionism is like apartheid in South Africa, it's like Jim Crow here in the United States used to be, that it's unjust, that it's wrong, and that there is a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian problem, and it's a very similar solution to other problems that we've already seen resolved, even in our lifetime, my lifetime, which is historically, of course, not very long. And so, in that regard, I'm actually quite optimistic. I think I see great changes here in this country. I see the Palestinian voice rising and becoming more clear and having more of a stage to speak on campuses and churches. The call to boycott and impose sanctions and divestment against Israel is growing and becoming stronger. And so more and more people in this country are realizing that Israel today, the regime that exists there, is similar to apartheid in South Africa. It needs to be removed and replaced with a real democracy where Israelis and Palestinians live as equals. And I'm there a lot. I spend a lot of time in Palestine. My family still is in Jerusalem. I go there often. In fact, I'm on my way there. I'll be going there in a couple of weeks. And I see big changes on the ground there too. In other words, the life of Palestinians is still it's still terrible. And what they have to put up with on a daily basis, there are hundreds of Palestinian prisoners who have been on a hunger strike for almost 50 days now, and they want to force feed them, and things like that. So it's, terrible things are happening. At the same time, Israel is becoming weaker. The regime is becoming weaker. The world is supporting Israel less and less. And so I see these as causes for optimism, because I think in the end, a real democracy with equal rights is going to improve the lives of Israelis as well as Palestinians. Even though today Israelis think that they're doing well because they are the upper class, so to speak. They're privileged. I think Israelis and Palestinians do much better once they live together like normal people with equality. You have two communities that are very highly educated. Even in the Gaza Strip, which has been suffering from a very, very cruel and brutal siege, since 2006, you have 1.5 million people living on something like 140 square miles. I mean, it's very crowded, but everybody's educated. Education levels are some of the highest in the world. It has 7 or 8 universities in that small strip of land. So you have two very highly educated societies that both have strong traditions of democracy, albeit for themselves, not joint. And I think in the next few years we're going to see big changes, and we are going to see the fall of Zionism and the creation of a real democracy in Palestine, just like we saw here in this country the fall of Jim Crow, and in South Africa the fall of apartheid. So in that regard, I think that is the direction that we need to be looking.
Okay. Well, of course we're going to open up the calls. I have one more or two more questions we're going to open up, because I know we're behind the time. We got a little late start, so we're going to let the people come in and ask you a few questions. If you can be patient with us and just take a few of the calls. But before we do that, let me ask you, because listening to you carefully, you went over the Balfour Agreement, how some people that had nothing to do with Israel was able to give Israel to a people who had nothing to do with Israel. That's number one. Number two, and I don't know if you followed what's going on politically in the United States, but Helen Thomas, not too long ago, she really she was taken through the ringer for making statements saying that Jews need to go back to Germany and Poland, saying that Israel
Helen
is really
Thomas,
not.
Yes, I know. Terrible.
Yeah, Helen Thomas. Yeah.
She's a great friend. Yeah. She's a wonderful woman, yes.
She's a friend of yours.
Well,
right?
I knew her well. We spoke together. I had a great deal of respect for her, yes. She passed away,
was a friend of yours, yeah. Okay. But she made a statement and was really, the media really crushed her, and she lost her position, her status as a reporter with the White House for decades. For making a statement saying that, listen, you people really don't belong in Israel.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and based on your information, being an expert with the research you have done, if they had no right to be given the land from the beginning, and that's like, I can't give you China, okay? I can't do that and say because you got hurt in New Jersey that now because someone did something to you in New Jersey, I'm going to give you China.
Yeah.
So if they don't belong there, they're not the bloodline, they're not religiously, according to the Bible, the people that would be restored according to scriptures, if you're looking at it from a religious standpoint. Why are they being tolerated? Why are they still there? Instead of talking about let me say this, instead of talking about the fight between the Palestinian and Jewish people, there will be no fight if they weren't given a land that didn't belong to them. So isn't the right thing is to have you go back, or whoever it is, go back home and let the people that belong there be there?
Yes and no. You can't take, like I said, I think there's similarities between the Israeli Jews today and the whites in South Africa. Both cases, these are the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren of settler colonizers. At the same time, this is their home now. They don't have another country to go to. They don't have another home to go to. It's not like there's a house in Ukraine for the Jews who came from Ukraine. The reality was such that people immigrated for whatever reason. It's a long story, but at the moment, this is their home. It's like the life in South Africa. When Nelson Mandela won, and the ANC, their ideology was not to get rid of the whites. Their ideology was to create equal rights. And I think the same has to be applied in Israel. You can't take 5 million people and kick them out. That doesn't happen. It would be wrong, too. This is their home now. What you do need to do is you need to rectify the wrong through compensation, through reparations, through the right of allowing the Palestinians to return to their homes and so forth, and the creation of a political structure that allows everybody freedom and allows everybody to be involved in the political process as equal, without being discriminated, without discrimination because you happen to be a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew, but complete equal rights. And I think the chances of success over there are far greater than was here in the United States. I mean, the fight for African American, most African American men in this country is not promising at all. The life of black Africans in South Africa is not promising at all, by and large. At the same time, you don't have that kind of reality. You don't have, we didn't have, all these centuries and centuries of deprivation and oppression in Palestine. This has only been going on for maybe 7 decades. And so the chances of success are rather good because you have, like I said, 2 very educated and very, very competent societies. So we're not looking, I think we'd be making a mistake if we look for some kind of ultimate total justice. What we need to do is we need to rectify as much as we can and remedy what was done and create a future where the children and the young Israelis and Palestinians who are alive today and will be born in the next few years will have a future. And there's no reason why they can't. It's a country with a great deal of potential. And these are people with a great deal of potential and a lot of similarities. And that's what we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at how we allow the Palestinians who suffered to be compensated and how we allow Israelis and Palestinians as a society to move forward together in a democracy. In order to do that, though, the big challenge is, like you said in the beginning, is to convince people, like in the black churches, that Israel is not the Israelites. That the Jews and the Zionists are similar to Jim Crow and apartheid whites. That's the transition that has to take place, because I think when that happens here in this country, that will be a game changer. That will be a complete game changer, I think. Once the African American community gets behind this fully and understands this fully, because it's not easy to understand. It can be confusing. I mean, we've been talking for half an hour, and it's not completely evident. But once that is accomplished, and when that is accomplished, I think it's going to be a very big day. I think it's going to be a huge achievement.
Okay. Well, I just got to put one more thing out there, and I just need your response to this. Okay? And then we're going to open up the calls. I also happened to have read an article not too long ago. I don't know if you read this article in Forbes magazine by Elisa Knudsen. Now, I'm going to read this. It's a short article, but it speaks volumes, and it makes it where I don't know if we have the time for this piece based on the I would say the aggressiveness of the Zionist agenda in Israel. Let me read this real quick, and I just want you to respond to it. Tell me what you think. This is Elisa Knudsen. She's a contributor here, Forbes magazine. It says, Israel forcibly injected African immigrants with birth control, report claims. This weekend, a report revealing that African women immigrating to Israel were subjected to mandatory contraceptive injections, effectively amounting to forced sterilization, made global headlines. Some 130,000 Ethiopians, most of them Jewish, live in Israel. The community experiences higher poverty and unemployment rate than the rest of the country's Jewish population. In the past decade, the birth rate among Ethiopian Israelis has declined by at least 20%. Advocacy groups now claim this decline is the result of birth control regimen forced upon Ethiopian immigrant women. According to the article, inherits. An Israeli news source, one Ethiopian immigrant, said that the doctors who injected her claimed that people who frequently give birth suffer. While it's possible, it's highly unlikely that doctors genuinely had the women's health in mind when they forcibly injected them with contraceptives. There is no excuse for depriving women sovereignty over their own reproductive choices. Israel has acknowledged the issue without admitting any wrongdoing and has vowed institutional changes in health care for immigrants. By decree of Israel's health minister, gynecologists have been ordered not to renew prescriptions of Depo-Provera, which we know they're prescribing in the United States and others too. For women of Ethiopian origin, if for any reason there is concern that they might not understand the ramifications of the treatment. Now, the reason I'm asking you is because I think that most of the news targeted towards the Palestinian-Israeli fight there, or whether or not they'll have peace. And to some degree, and I need your opinion, that this agenda that's going on is not just against Palestine. We're suffering the same ills and the same sterilization in the black neighborhoods, even within the United States. So if this agenda is happening where certain people are being targeted, they're being sterilized, they're being depopulated, you understand? What is your view on not only what's going on in Israel, but how the same agenda is being spread worldwide towards extinction? This is, and I'm saying this because, of course, Jewish people get much sympathy based on what we've been taught about the Holocaust. But yet, it seems as if there's a greater Holocaust going on worldwide by these people who have used the Holocaust for sympathy or as a platform to gain more power to actually destroy all the people who've been supporting them. So, strictly, first, based on this particular piece on Forbes, of course, they spin it in a way in which they're making people believe that it's a very small demographic that's actually dealing with this, but we know it's greater. What is your take on their agenda? Why are they, what is this thing against other people and killing other people and sterilizing people all over the earth?
It's racism, that's the racism.
I mean, do we have enough time to wait for this peace that you're speaking of based on their aggressiveness, is what I'm asking you.
Yes, they're going down. There's no question about that. Just like South Africa, the apartheid regime went down. They're going down because that's the reality. That's what happens to regimes like that they end up crumbling and falling, and they will we're not going to have to wait very long. It's going to be much sooner than people think. But
I can say they're going down. They're going down, but I don't think it's going to be through any politics. I don't think, because they control the politics, but.
Yeah, they're going to go down through politics. You'll see. It's the same as there's so many examples. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm old enough to remember there used to be a country called South Vietnam, and very shortly before South Vietnam disappeared, an American president still said, "We will never forsake our most important ally." Blah blah blah. And there's no South Vietnam. My kids are in school today. They don't even study about South Vietnam. So my point is that the fact that something looks strong today doesn't mean it's strong. It doesn't necessarily mean it will prevail, I think. And again, from what I see on the ground and what I see in terms of the resistance to Israel is very promising. Again, it's going to be a very tough uphill battle. It's not going to be easy. But I think big change is upon us, and I don't mean anything, prophetic. I mean something very, very grassroots and very political. But to go back to your questions, how is it that people do this? This is, racists do this. I mean, they do terrible things to people who are poor and uneducated and are in their view lesser people, and the blacks in their view are lesser people, and it's a terrible thing. I'm very glad that Forbes actually put this piece in. I'm looking at it now. I think it's an excellent, it's a good piece. It's true. I think there's already a website that is put together by Ethiopians in Israel who are, I wish I remembered the name, but it's online, and they are now speaking about all the racism and the injustices that they have to live through. But racism is racism, you know. It's shocking, but it's not surprising, you know. And so a lot of people are surprised because they say, well, how could Jews do this to Jews? Well, just because somebody is Jewish doesn't mean they're not racist. And if somebody happens to be Jewish and white and to be raised in the West with Western ideals, then they're probably racist because Western ideals lead us to racism. Look at what was done to Native Americans in this country. Look what was done to the Aborigines in Australia and so forth. Look what was done. Talk about Holocaust. I gave a speech at my son's high school graduation last week. And one of the things I brought up was the Holocaust that was brought upon Africans when they were brought into slavery, and nobody's even, people be talking about reparations, and people will just, fall off their chairs. How dare you mention reparations? Why shouldn't they be compensated? Why shouldn't their grandchildren and great grandchildren be compensated for the Holocaust that was 100, if not 1,000 times worse than what Jews suffered in Europe during World War II? Why is it such an issue? Why is there even a question that they need to be? I mean, the problems of America, the problems of race in America today, particularly in regards to the African American community, stem from that horrific injustice of the kidnapping and enslaving, and then hundreds of years of racism and segregation and Jim Crow and so on. This is Western culture, racism and colonialism, and looking down at people who are not, white and European is part of European culture, sadly enough. But on the other hand, we are seeing many cases, though, where this ideology and this racist point of view is being defeated. Is being fought. Not enough, not fast enough. But again, the case of Palestine, because it's a small country, because it's only been going on for maybe 80 years or 90 years or something, but really intensely only about 70 years, we have a chance to create something better and to see the fall of this racist regime, the Zionist regime, and be replaced with something better. Still, it's going to be a tough battle. It's going to take a lot of us out there talking about it and getting, going to support the Palestinians and support justice in general. But it is one case where if you do create a real democracy, then you can start dealing with these issues and dealing them in a fair way, in a fair and just way.
Well, hey, I think you hit it right on. You hit a lot of, we could talk about this for hours, but of course we have our guests who would like to speak to you. I would like to ask you this, one last thing, and it's small. Just, do you think this dialogue tonight, this conversation, do you think that this dialogue would be deemed or coined anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism? You think that this discussion would be deemed racist? Should we not be able to talk about this?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up, and I'll tell you why. The pro-Israeli groups, the pro-Zionist groups, all the way from the Israeli Prime Minister down to all the pro-Israeli groups, say that if you criticize Israel, then you are anti-Semitic. And my response to that, so I get asked by audiences, because I speak, I give lectures now everywhere, and a lot of my listeners are Christians, of course, and they don't want to be called anti-Semitic. So my reply to this is, first of all, the fact that this is what they say only demonstrates they have no real argument. They have no real way to defend what they do other than calling names. How could you say that it's anti-Semitic to criticize Israel? First of all, there are countless of Jews who have always opposed and rejected and criticized Israel. Jewish people around the world have always criticized. Some more, some less. Here in America, there's Jewish Voices for Peace. There are many Jewish people who either reject or oppose to a certain degree the state of Israel. So what are they about them? Are they also anti-Semitic? It's stupid. Besides that, Israel is a racist state. It's a brutal regime. It has thousands of political prisoners. It denies water for children because they are not Jewish, because they're Palestinian. Well, we just talked about what they did to the African Jews that they brought, the Ethiopian Jews. They drop bombs on innocent civilians and kill civilians all the time. So opposing that is anti-Semitic? What about this is Jewish? There's nothing Jewish about this. So how could it be anti-Semitic to oppose it? None of these things are Jewish values. None of these things are inherently Jewish. These are all things that are evil and should be condemned. There's nothing Jewish about these things. We're not criticizing Israel because they are, because they, observe the Sabbath. We're criticizing Israel because they are a racist, brutal regime. There's nothing anti-Semitic about it at all. Quite the opposite. But it only demonstrates the reason they will say this, and people will say this, is because they have no other argument. They have no way to defend or to legitimize what they do.
Okay.
It's a very important question, especially, once again, you touched on the issue of the black churches in America. I think this is a very important issue to raise in the context of church-going people who don't want to be called anti-Semitic and, of course, are not anti-Semitic.
Well, I think that it's not wrong to call a spade a spade. If something is wrong, why can't we address it without them pulling up some level of defense? Let's just deal with the issues and like you say, let's put the name calling to the side and deal with the genocide. Whether or not it's right, do you have a right to kill people who haven't harmed or done any? We're not Hitler, okay? We did nothing to you. So why are we being exterminated? Why are the Palestinians being? So politically, they use these means of, I would say, misdirection, so that we never get to their true agenda, their true purpose.
Exactly.
And I say, and I would call that a purpose. What they're dealing with is a well orchestrated purpose. Now, and you see them; they're in Syria now. They're going to bring Iran into this now, and of course, we being religious people have a religious understanding of how this thing's end for Israelis, and it's not going to end good for them. All right, because Iran is going to be pulled into this war, and it's going to be World War III here. And we just pray that those, the good people are on the right side of justice when this all come to an apex, come to a head. And I would like to, I have one other question, because you have some Iranians and the others that I've spoke to who said that, well, the Jewish people really have no right to be in Israel because the original people that left Israel were not European. They were black people.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so not only are you not Israel, there's a good chance that the same people that you are dealing with racism and hatred towards are actually the people that you claim was someone else while you're claiming their identity. What do you say to that?
Well, they think they are, so that's all that matters. I mean, you can't tell white Americans to leave just as much as you can, like I said, tell white South Africans to leave. Whether right or wrong, whether they have a right or they don't have a right, when people are there, they're there, and they have children, they go to school, and that's just how it is, and you have to move on beyond it and live live another day and make sure that you create a better environment for people moving forward. That's just the way it is. I mean, the people believe that they are what they say they are. Whether we think they're right or wrong is a whole other issue, but that's just kind of the reality.
Okay. All right, so thank you. I really appreciate
my pleasure. This has been a great conversation. I'm really glad you brought me on, and I apologize for this delay. There was an accident on the highway. I mean, I was just really 10 minutes away, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's a blessing to have you on, and I'm glad you came out of that accident or whatever's going on there unscathed. I'm glad you was able to make it. Better late than never. We needed this conversation. I'm going to turn it over to. Oh, you're welcome, brother, and we're going to support your book, and we have to just bring it out as we deal with different topics on this show, exposing the ills of our society and bringing forth the truth and making people out there aware of the world around us. Gaja, come on in. I know you got some questions, and brothers and sisters,
I got to run. I'm sorry. I have another meeting in about 5 minutes, and I can't be late to that one too. So I'm really going to have to I'm going to have to go.
Okay.
And perhaps we can do this another time. So thank you so much.
Yes, Miko, just before you go, I was just about to ask you that. Would it be okay if we reschedule another show maybe in about 2 weeks' time? Because there's a lot of...
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I wanted to actually talk to you about.
Yes, absolutely.
I've been watching a couple of your lectures going, and I've not read the book completely, but I have been going to points on it in the General Sun, and I find it very fascinating the points that you raise concerning falsifying the military falsifying what was really going on just to invade Egypt and other places to go in and I'd love to have a conversation on that.
Sure.
And
go ahead and send me a message like on Facebook or something, and we'll I'd be happy to schedule another one. I absolutely.
All right, no problem. So I'll save my questions until then, and we can talk. So you look after yourself and be safe. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye. Okay, everyone.
Okay, brothers and sisters. Yes. That was Miko Peled. A lot of key information. I'll tell you what, some of you are going to need to rewind this from the beginning and listen to it in its entirety. So much information came out in such a short amount of time that if you missed a second of it, that you will actually not understand the impact of what was actually said and within this conversation. So much information came out exposing the Zionist agenda and their true origin. And I thank Miko Peled for coming on. So what you think, Gaja? Well, let the people know. Give me your insight of what you just heard him admit.
I've been here taking notes, listening. There's so many. He brought so much stuff, like he said, in such a short space of time, and I had so many questions I wanted to ask him on that. I mean, he said it very early in his conversation that the people in Israel are not the Jews, and not that he was saying something that we didn't already know, but who is he's from a famous Zionist family, and for him to come out and say that, I mean, I don't think many people understand like the risk he puts himself at in doing that. You understand me? That's a very bold thing to come out and do. And you asked him the question spot on when you said, well, okay, why would you go against this when this is actually putting you above the rest? Exactly. The answer was injustice is injustice. Mind you, I do feel that maybe on a different forum he would have spoken a bit more freely towards some things, which I wanted to ask him about, and I think I might just save that until the next time we meet. Hopefully we can reschedule him again to come on. But all in all, I thought it was a very powerful 35-40 minutes of him speaking and what he's actually saying and the ramifications it has. And he said I don't know if anyone else heard this, but he said if the African American community came on board this, they would make a big impact on this. So he's acknowledging the power that the so-called African American community have. He said he was in Atlanta in a black church preaching. Doing a lecture explaining to the people about what's really going on with Zionism and what's really going on with that side of the world, and where the support that they're giving, the prayers they're offering, why they shouldn't. And I wanted to ask him about that because, okay, why is it so? I wanted to ask him, why is it so important that the African American community or the African community period get behind this or know about this? Why is it so important? This is the thing. We have so much power. in this earth, as in the political arena, then, so to speak, that we don't understand what it is that we do and what we can do by coming together when everybody else around us understand that,
Yes.
So I thought it was deep, man. I sat here, I'm making notes. I am gonna go back over and listen to this broadcast again, just to make sure I had everything down. And plus, like I said, I've been watching a couple of his lectures out there, and it's deep. You understand me? And when he mentioned the that book by Shlomo Sand, The Invention of the Jewish People. We've been trying to get Shlomo Sand onto this radio show now for the past 2 years without any success. And he actually lives in Israel, who actually said, well, that the Jewish people is an invention. Somebody invented it.
They were created.
Yes.
Exactly. It's a script, like a Hollywood script.
Yes.
And I mean, I can go in so many areas. It was so poignant, straight to the point, truths coming out concerning this agenda. But one thing that I noticed that really people have to work on, and I hope you look into this, is that people think that you can beat this thing politically when they are in charge of the political structure. They have created this structure and that cannot operate. They're the heart of the democracy. They're the mind behind the construct. And see, and that's why I was asking about forerunners like Albert Pike, to say if their agenda have went on to this point unscathed, and they're still disrupting the whole earth, right, as far as I can see, right on point according to what the Bible said they would do. You understand? How is it we going to stop this politically? And he's given some examples of America and how we got rights and how what happened in South Africa. Well, we're not better off since that so-called freedom and democracy. If he called what's going on in America equality, then I think he needs to really examine equality again. All due respect to everything he knows, but we are worse off now than before we were integrated into the system. We're worse off. Africa, apartheid, it haven't stopped. So, what I'm saying, based on their aggressiveness with the New World Order and their influence on the earth when it comes to the media and homogenizing the whole earth and feminizing the men with their agenda, they are these that are in control. They are Satanists. They are very aggressive. And if you think that some people marching down the street or voting going to stop them from doing what they're going to do, what they're doing, you're going to get rolled over. You have to understand what you're up against here. This is the New World Order with Satan at the helm. And unless you understand the whole total agenda biblically and spiritually and understand what we're really dealing with here, we're not just dealing with some political people that went to Israel to fight against some Palestinians. We're dealing with Satanists that are looking to set up a new world order and total exterminate the chosen people of God through bloodline. And I know we say that bloodline is not important. Guess what? Bloodline is the chief conversation that we should be actually speaking about when it comes to their true agenda. Why else are they exterminating little black girls and pushing their sterilization drugs all up in our neighborhoods with vaccines and all these things, separating the family, putting stuff in the water that's feminizing the men? They're behind the science. They're behind it all. The political system. They in the United States. So this thing is deeper than just some people with an axe to grind against the Palestinians in Israel. This is a world problem. And I wanted to put that out there. And I think it's been quantified and explained poignantly on this show this evening. So I did think of coming on because it allowed us to have some, good conversation.
What you said there really was like a summary of what I was gonna respond to when you said that when you said people looking at this from a political standpoint, right? And
Yeah.
and this is how I see it. People who look at this problem that we're facing right now and believe that they can solve it by a political means, right? They are void of the Most High. Be it that they are atheists,
Exactly.
be it that they are, they're in something different and void of the truth, because that's what it really boils down to. Because there's good people out there that really believe that they can, really see that there's something wrong, but because they have they lack the Most High in truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way they can solve this problem is looking to politics. That is the go-to for them. And like, for example, when we talk to our brothers them that deal with Egyptology and the Pan-African movement and all that, it all boils back down to a political agenda more than actually finding the truth in the Most High. And that's how you know that even with that they don't believe in the gods that they claim that they worship.
Exactly.
You understand? Because if you did, you would actually turn to your power. You would turn to your God. You don't believe in the God.
Exactly.
You believe in politics. You believe in man.
Exactly.
So that's why I think it goes into that direction, where a man will see a problem, and rather than turning to the Most High for it, he'll turn, let me go to the politicians, let me go the political route, let me get some people to come in, rally banners, raise awareness and all that, not realizing that that can't stop it. This thing been going on for the better part of 2,000 years.
Yes.
So you can't stop that by rallying the picket fence. And coming out and with a placard. It will never happen. And that was something else again with the discussion, is that the brothers seem to be a bit fixated with the Palestine Israel scenario, and not more looking into the wider perspective of what impact this have on the world. For example, all the politicians within America, Britain, within Europe are controlled by the Zionists. You mentioned the name, the Rothschilds before, and that name seems to come up everywhere. You understand me? Not just in Palestine, but it comes up on every side. And let me hold on. I think we only have about 5 minutes. As a matter of fact, we got 2 minutes left for the just under 2 minutes for the live show. So I'm gonna send it back over to you, Alarica.
Okay, well, what we're going to do is, because I got a meeting at 8:30 Eastern, so what we're going to do is, because so many brothers and sisters have put their time in, and I'm sure they have some questions, we're going to answer questions here, and I'm going to open up real quick. I'm going to open up the overtime for 10 minutes, just to answer questions specifically on this particular topic. So for those who was here and had their questions in line, you can actually speak to us and give us your opinion on the show within the next 10 minutes. If something happens where you drop, because this show will drop in a couple of minutes, come to Gathering of Christ through the Ustream, type in your questions there, and we'll be happy to answer the rest of your questions concerning this particular broadcast, all right? So let me go in here now, real quick, through Ustream, and I'll go live here for the next 10 minutes just to hear the response and answer any responses and answer any questions brothers and sisters might have concerning this particular broadcast.
Okay. All right. While you do that, I'm gonna play this one more time. This is the final time I played the advert for the GOCC network. All right. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go to gatheringofchristchurch.org and see it. If you have a business idea, a plan, an established business going, you'd like to advertise it in the church, we're promoting, we promote supporting our own. So go there right now. We're launching it. It's growing. I think every week someone else joins it. Also, the Hebrew Bible Academy starts. So send your Elder, I'm getting a feedback right there.
Okay, hold on. Is that better?
Let me see. Yes, that is better. All right, so send your emails to gatheringas1@aol.com. Just put in the subject academy enrollment, and that will get it right to the academy team. So you'll be get a swift response. Also, we are in London,
and that's June 22nd. Academy, June 22nd. Yeah.
Right. And also, we in London this Sabbath at the Peabody Hill Community Center. All right. If you would like to join us this Sabbath, email us at gocc144uk@gmail.com. That is gocc144uk@gmail.com, and we will send you the address and details for where we will be. All right. So let me go straight to the call lines. We're only gonna be for 10 minutes. I'm gonna ask the callers here that's calling in now. Just keep it based on this discussion that we've been having for the past 45 minutes. And ask your question or make a comment, and then I'll put you immediately back to speak as soon as possible. All right. So let me go to the first one. We have Shaman with a question. Okay, let me go here. Shalom. Shalom, 757, you're live. Go ahead. Okay, no 757. Let me go to the next caller. Okay, we have Shirley with a question from the 646 area code. Shalom.
Hey, Elder, how are you? My question is, I wanted to speak to the guest, but I guess he's not on. But what I wanted to find out is, these people that have supposedly gone through a Holocaust, religious or otherwise, how can they treat people that way after going through that themselves, supposedly? Such a huge Holocaust. And, of course, this guy is straight up political, but he was saying things like, he could think that politics is going to change this, and, of course, we know that's not going to happen. But, I mean, what's the possibility of getting the Jews out of Israel? There's none, correct?
Hello? Well, and sister, you hit it right on the nose. I think that they look at that's an impossibility, so they're looking into political answers, because really having these people go back to where they come from is an impossibility. But how do you deal with the cancer knowing it exists? The only way to get rid of cancer is to root it out altogether. So it seems as if some of these answers, even though they're well thought, are misguided, because mainly, like God just said, the majority of these the people who understand what's going on in Israel are blinded based on the fact that they have no knowledge concerning what the Most High have to say concerning this. Now, one thing that he did say, which was correct, it will be a reckoning very soon. They will be moved out of the way, but not politically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was Sister Shirley. Sister Shirley, thank you for the comments. Like I said, I'm just gonna go straight to the next caller. We have Antonio with a question. Shalom, Antonio. Go ahead.
Shalom, elders. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, brother. Go ahead.
How are you? I'm fine. I felt that was definitely a very informing interview, and I hope that we can put that on video for a lot of the other people to hear, because a lot of the friends I tried to get to call in said that the line was full, so they didn't even catch that, but I did direct them to the website. Now, one of the things I would have wanted to make a comment about was, I understand, he's looking at this from a very political point of view and everything, but what do you say for all the American blacks, as well as people of color, that make up the tribes of Israel, who have been denied the truth about our heritage, because for most of us over here in America, we just want to connect with our true history. And when I came into the truth from following the GOCC website, that was the most enlightening, the most revealing, profound moment of my life, knowing what my true history is. So to hear, and I understand he's trying to be as politically correct as possible, and anybody that is in the position that he's in will probably come from that stand, that point of view. But for me, when you say things like that really doesn't matter anymore, because in these people's minds, that's who they believe they are, I think that's 100% false right there. I mean, you're talking about a people who don't have a homeland or a place to call home, who have been dealing with oppression all their life and have a long history of it, and that are taught that we're nothing but slaves in this country. And for the people that do find out what our true history is and want to reconnect with our land and who we are and where we're from, how are you going to tell us that we're to let the bygones be bygones and people that don't even belong there to stay there ruling and call the place their own? I felt completely opposite what he said when he addressed that issue. So I wanted to make that comment.
Well, brother, you got to keep in mind that based on his platform, he can only say but so much. I think that once I went into Palestinians and others are even saying that the Jews left Palestine, left Israel black, I think that kind of winded down our time as far as how long how long he would be willing to continue with these questions. So I think that saying who they are not is one thing in itself. But I really get the feeling that he knows who the real Jews are, and that's one backlash he's not willing to put his neck out on the line for. You'd rather put his neck out on the line, or so to speak, on a political scenario that have already been established for political talking points. But black people being the Jews is not one of those. You understand? So that's where that.
Yeah, that was a question as well. That was well diverted, and like I said, it could be one just the platform that he's and what he's looking to do. Saying that the Jews are black. I think
exactly that don't fall along the lines of his political. What he's looking to do politically.
Yes. All right, let me move.
He won't get no support with that.
Let's move it to the next caller. We have Cleo from the 714 area code, and Antonio, thank you for that. Just hit one, and Sister Shirley as well. Could you hit one for me? That will just pull you out the queue. Oh, wait 1 second. Let's go to Cleo first, and then come to you afterwards.
Hey, shalom, elders. Shalom again. Fantastic show, Ricard. Fantastic show, Brother Gaja. Hey, listen, the question about the African Americans getting behind this particular platform, I don't think he realizes that the only leadership we have in the States and all over the world are the Hebrew Israelites. We can't count on the so-called Christians, like the liars who have been propped up to be our leaders. And he don't recognize that.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, how would he be able to recognize it when the majority of what Israel is, or what we see that Israelite is not nothing to be really taken seriously. So just the conduct of Israelites and the reputation that comes with what people think an Israelite is, he wouldn't aim his political agenda towards these particular groups. He's going to the areas, or dealing with the areas in our community that have some type of political status, that have some pulling power politically.
The church. It's me to church.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, man. That was clear, man. Thanks for that. Let me go right to the next caller. We have Bronzy with a comment. Shalom, Bronzy.
Hello. Peace be unto everybody. I wanted to say I have two comments, and then I'll get off to, go back into the queue right quick. I don't have to comment on it. But my first comment was I thought that was an excellent show. It was just beautiful, and I wish it could have gone on. It was very informative, and it was just awesome. So what I wanted to say was, in the Bible it says that the Most High was going to come back and make inquisition for blood. So I was wondering if the elder could explain if he knew what that meant, that the Lord was going to make inquisition for blood. Does that mean that he was going to search out a certain blood line? Was he looking for a certain blood type? Or does it mean that he was going to, I don't know, it just bothers me with that, because there's this Rh negative blood factor here on earth, and I happen to be Rh negative, and so a few other people in my family, and this bloodline is very rare, and a lot of the Indians have it, and a lot of the Ethiopians have it, but a lot of the Black Americans have this bloodline, and you wouldn't know it was even here unless you had it, because when you're pregnant, they have to give you a shot in the rectum with something called Rogaine, because the blood is so powerful, it will attack the baby. But the bloodline is very strange because it doesn't allow you to get AIDS. They've never found anybody with Rh negative to get AIDS, and it doesn't get a lot of the diseases that other people get. But one thing that's really strange about the bloodline is that we can't accept blood. We can't accept blood from anybody else except Rh negative, but yet we can give. It's a universal blood. We can give it to everyone. And I was wondering, could this have something to do with the Levitical priest? Could it have something to do with Christ? I just wonder about that. And my second question is, if the Lord left this place to us called Jerusalem, and he's an intelligent Lord. That's one of my most favorite names for him, is called Most Intelligent Father. So I would think that he would leave proof for us, some type of seal, some type of sign, some type of insignia or something, that in the last days that it would be found. And I was wondering if you can comment on this. God bless, and peace be unto everybody. Bye.
Okay, bless you. First and foremost, the sign is, first of all, the prophecy that Christ said would come to pass in Matthew 24, and the sign is when you see those brothers out there prophesying and teaching. Another sign is the Holy Spirit. Okay, the Holy Spirit that gives discernment so that we can understand the times and look at the prophecies and know we're in the time. When you see them bringing forth the RFID, all these things are signs. Mark of the beast, these are signs. Second, when it comes to blood type, you cannot trust their science when they claim they're going to shoot you with something in your rectum based on your blood type. There's no blood from a mother that's going to attack the child. So that's some mess they're saying to actually attack the child themselves. Going back to this, the blood type in which you can't get AIDS, there's no such thing as AIDS. Okay, there is no disease called AIDS. No one has ever died of AIDS. Okay, you have an immune deficiency based on what they're shooting in you through vaccines or through lifestyle. So it's not a disease you can catch from one person to the next. That's a myth they've created to give people the drug AZT, which is killing the people. So I want to emphasize that there's no such disease called AIDS. You die from the treatment. And they actually made HIV and AIDS as a part of the eugenics program so that they can downsize our population. Not that we would spread it from one to the other, but that we would go to their system and go to their doctors to get the chemical that would kill us all. Sterilize us or kill us all together. When it comes to blood types, based on that scripture you brought forth, that the scripture you brought forth had nothing to do with someone having a special blood type or Levitical priesthood blood type. It had everything to do with recompense. For someone spilling blood, blood will be upon them. Okay, like it tell you in the Old Testament, woe to them that build a city on blood. Blood will be on them. Okay, if you kill with the sword, you shall be killed with the sword. That's what that particular scripture meant, sister. Not whether or not someone have a special blood type. All right. So, but your points are well taken, and I hope your questions have been answered. What's next, Gaja?
Okay, we got one last caller here, Elder Ricard. This is Corey with a question. And
okay, last meeting, and I got to prepare for the meeting in 15 minutes. Go ahead. The meeting begins in 15 minutes. But go ahead.
Yeah. Shalom, brother. How you doing?
Shalom.
I had a question. What was the whole issue with the Holocaust anyway? With Hitler's problem with those people over there, if they were the same people? That was my question.
Well, the whole thing, you have different stories concerning what they call the Holocaust. The Holocaust itself is really a creation by the Zionist powers that rule the earth. Okay, so they had to make what you would call a life-changing event in order for the Zionist atheist Jews to occupy Palestine. You understand? So they created a scenario. They put Hitler in place. Okay? They put him in place, and they ran the whole thing. You understand? The people they were experimenting on was not to kill a bunch of Jews in ghettos. That was the story they gave us. They was experimenting on different types of drugs or whatever the case is, and different types of weapons that they would one day use against us. And they were doing that against the poor in Germany, not just Jewish people. But those that died during that war and died from these experiments, the Jewish people had cameras come in and made the whole world, especially America, believe that millions of people were being killed by Hitler. And they used that as a pretext to gain more sympathy and power and political status to do what they're doing today. Okay? Are we saying some Jewish people didn't die during World War II? No, we're not saying that. Of course they died. But how many Germans died? How many Russians died? How many black people died? You never hear those numbers. And that's the point. The whole story was put together so that they can deal with the next level of the agenda by ruling from Palestine, which was an actual plan that was set forth the turn of the 19th century. So when you hear Holocaust, automatically that phrase alone or that word alone is like a buzzword that make you believe or make you think that 6 million Jewish people died. You understand? And therefore, that will minimize the true Holocaust. The sympathy have been taken from the slaves and given to them because they have what you would call, quote unquote, the more modern Holocaust, opposed to something that happened with us when we bring it up. They say, well, that happened a long time ago. No one is dealing with that no more. So they also did it as a means of taking out not only our homeland, but taking our status on the earth as being the people that suffer in Holocaust. You understand? So they've worked that Hollywood production in so many areas politically to benefit their agenda. Mm-hmm. You understand? So when you hear Holocaust, that's why every other year you're going to see a new Holocaust movie some way, somehow. Mm-hmm. All right? Okay?
All right. All right, man, Elder, man. That was it for the callers for this evening's show. It's been a blessing to be here and you know, to have the guests them here as well. So hopefully next week we can do this again. We should have Irritated Genie back on next week, and also we are trying to get somebody from the Christian ministry in as well. So look out for that show coming up very soon. There was an article of a pastor being thrown out of church for exposing what really goes on with tithing, and we're trying to get him on real soon as well. Azariah is in dialogue with him as we speak to get him on a day soon. So listen out for that show. Spread the word. You know, we're here on Blog Talk Radio every Wednesday, at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all right? And big shout out to all the brothers across the earth. El Gabar over there in New York, the brothers up in Canada, brothers down in Texas, and all over, man. If I missed out anybody, man, enough love, and stay prayed up, stay blessed until we get a chance to meet up, all right? Elder Rakar, any last words?
Yeah, I want to give it up to all the brothers that's holding the fort worldwide, no matter where you are. Brother Gabar that used to be over the Atlanta crew, that's over there, is overseas holding things down. You're rock. All the brothers and the sisters that are supporting. We want to let you know that you're in our prayers, even though we don't talk to you every day. We know what you're doing. We know you're holding the fort, and just don't give up. Don't give up the faith. Stay strong, and that goes out to the whole earth. We will soon see Zion. Our time is soon, okay? And we will not rise through politics, okay? And the rise will not be televised. And I wanted to put that out there. Satellites will be coming to the earth. They will be coming to the earth. This rise will not be televised. All right? With that, I'm going to say shalom. I got to get ready for a meeting, right?
All right, I'll see you in 10.
All right, shalom.
Shalom, brothers.
On the Most High, where is flowers? Where I wanna be. Father, I want to be on that peaceful and that joyful side. It's where I wanna be. Yeah. I just love my Father. Way beyond the sky. So amazing. I just wanna stay on His mind. To live. What is man that you would even think of Him? What is man that you would think of Him? On the Most High mind. Told me to ask for what I want. Most High mind. This is more precious than gold, silver, and diamonds and pearls, baby. People don't know this is the safest place to be. On the Most High mind. The ultimate protection. Yeah. So bring that beat back. Because I just got to keep blessing the Father. I want to stay on His mind. Stay on His mind every day. People don't know this is what it's all about. Yeah. This is how you stay blessed. Yeah. On the Most High mind is where I wanna be. Only the sons of light is gonna get this. On the Most High mind, take it to the next level. It's where I wanna be. Let me show you where I'm at. Yeah. Check it. I wanna be in that house where you say there's many mansions, and live with you forever and ever and ever. To live. On this mind is where I wanna live. On this mind is where I wanna live. It's where I wanna be. That's where I wanna remain. On the Most High mind. I love you, Father. Bless your holy name. Yeah. Tune into my heart and into my spirit. I praise you. Just wanna abide you. Yeah. Every day. Yeah. Been home. You know what I mean? A real home. It's where I wanna be. It's true peace. Children of Father. Divine Mother. It's where I wanna be. As a son. Best place to be. Let's just stay there. Mine is where I wanna be. Yeah. It's where I wanna be. Just wanna dance for you. And ever most high. It's a new creation, Father. It's where I wanna be. I wanna be here. Yeah.
Last minute where everyone is trying to get in and then someone falls through the cracks. So if you want to get in, send an email as soon as possible. Tell us you're interested now so that we can have a place and give you the documents well beforehand to get you in place, all right? The other thing is I wanted to say thanks to brothers and sisters for their participation in the GOCC network. That's going good. People are putting banners up on our site and able to advertise through our site and have brothers and sisters throughout the world direct their business to brothers and sisters within the work, opposed to supporting others. If you have a certain gift or whatever the case is, you can advertise there quite cheaply. Brothers and sisters worldwide who are with the church will support you before they support the world. So that's another thing we have out there. I wanted to put out there for them. So yeah, if you would like, because we really had we had to cut off the phone calls early last week. So because of that, yes, let's open up the calls until the guests come in. That'll be great.
Excuse me, yes. Let me go to the first caller from the 302 area code. And, okay, one sec. Let me go to the next one then. Let's go straight to the next one. Let's go to the 714 area code. And let's go live. Shalom, you live.
Hey, shalom. This is Brother Cleo from San Diego. Shalom, elders. How you guys doing
shalom.
Today?
How you feeling? Doing well.
So far, so good. And I wanted to ask you, you mentioned the fact that you're going to be going into prophecy show, but one thing I'd like to say is that these so-called Jewish people, they're having open warfare amongst each other. With the outing of themselves, and I wanted to know what you thought about that, Ricard.
Well, what I mean
specifically, like the outing of that one liar, Donald Sterling, and then the outing of that other so-called Jewish guy, Justin Bieber.
When you say the outing, give me an example of what you mean, the outing, internal fight.
Okay. Donald Sterling is obviously a so-called Jewish person with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, because you all already know what that is. But they outed him and he put a lot of information out there that nobody asked questions as far as, well, what did he mean by this and what did he mean by that? If you go back and listen to his original tape. So for them to put that information out there like that, there has to be something to that. And my go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm listening. And go ahead. Your what?
No. And my thought is that why are they openly having warfare like that against themselves? Because he's a high-ranking member of their society.
Okay. Well, there's 2 points to this. Number one, Donald Sterling is getting up in age. And him getting up in age, he began to slip. He's always been the way he is as far as outward. And all of them really feel the same way he feels because there's an internal code amongst them. Anyone who have read the Elders of Zion's documents, the elders of the learned elders of Zion. If you hold up, there's something coming in real quick. Here, 1 moment.
Definitely have read that document.
Okay, real quick, because somebody has some music in right real quick there. If anyone have read the learned elders of Zion, you'll know that there's a code amongst them to preserve their nation or their agenda, and it's preferring themselves over others inwardly, but not tell others. Now the problem is Donald Sterling, again, he's slipping because he said some things out of his care for this young woman, and some of the things he said, TMZ and others had to jump on it quick. They had to really jump on it before it got out before the media, so that they can spin it a certain type of way. Because what he said, what people should have been focused on, some of the things he said, was never relayed to the regular populace. They made sure they put it out there where he's just a black. I think brothers and sisters out there worldwide are in store for a quite interesting show this evening. How long will the guest be on for this evening?
Okay, Brother Azariah is letting me know that he'll be here in about 4 minutes. But as for his time on the show this evening, I think we have him for just over an hour, if I'm correct.
Okay, well, we're going to round it out for 1 hour. Of course, after the show, I have a meeting, so we can't do any overtime for this particular show. I have about an hour meeting right after the show with all the brethren throughout the four corners of the earth. So, with the elders and deacons after the show. But we can't do overtime, so we just have to be right on point. We'll probably do just 1 straight hour, and we can do adverts and whatever the case is after that. Since we only have them on for a short amount of time, let's try to get as much information out there as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Also, I would like to say, thank you, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the meeting we had last week with Brother the irritated genie. I forgot to ask him. I think once he come on again, I forgot to ask him where did he get that name. But so I think next week we probably have him on and to fulfill our the point of obligation we made to say he can come on and give the brothers and sisters his insight and his understanding on what led him to his particular path, and is there any truth to it? So we're going to hear what he has to say from a Pan-African standpoint. And guess what? I've gotten some feedback, a lot of positive, but some negative feedback from the Hebrew Israelite community. What they say is, and I'm getting a lot of, not a lot, just a few who are saying that Elder Ricard and the Gathering of Christ Church try to be too nice when it comes to guests with opposing views. You understand? But conflict leads to nothing. And we've had shows in which it came to an abrupt end over whatever the case may be, where spirits try to come in and cause some type of divide, and none of us on either side are able to get to a common ground to actually talk to each other and understand each other. So that goes into if we're talking about we have the truth, what are we afraid of? Are we afraid of being polite to those that are without? Even Paul says that we have to condescend to the lowest state, which means and be at peace with every man. So if they don't know what we know, should we bash them or attack them or treat them a certain type of way, or treat them as brethren who just don't understand right now and be at peace with them? So a lot of brothers think out there think that we're supposed to curse somebody out and make them feel below us, and that's not the spirit of the truth.
I tell you what, Elder, right? What I've seen in my in my time, my very short time, my short walk in this truth, right, is that a lot of people come into the truth as a confrontation. They see it via like a YouTube video, somebody getting cursed out. So for them, all the truth is cursing somebody out. You understand? And if you're not cursing somebody out, you're not. It's not the truth, and it goes beyond that. And I understand the entertainment value of it sometimes for some of these videos on YouTube, but it's like how far can you get with that? You understand me? Without there has to be a dialogue go on where people can disagree. You understand me? And come to and speak. And not only that, the irritated genie. I believe that the brother was very sincere in his works and his efforts of coming onto the program. Even more sincere than the brother that we had a few weeks before with 6 degrees. You understand me? I believe, he was more sincere in just having a dialogue and just say, all right, let's talk. We don't agree on these things, but hey.
Psalms 144 and verse 3. Lord, what is man that you should take knowledge of him? What is man? You told me to ask for what I want. But you would take notice of this is what I want right here, more than anything. On the Most High mind, where is flowers? Where I wanna be. Father, I wanna be on that peaceful and that joyful side. On the Most High mind, it's where I wanna be. Yeah. I just love my Father. Way beyond the sky, so amazing.
Hey, shalom everyone. Welcome into the Search Engine International, and I'm your host, Brother Gajo. Joining me shortly will be Elder Rakar, and we have a nice show packed up for you tonight. Alright, if you're just joining with us, you heard the infomercial before. We are promoting the GOCC network. If you're not seeing it or you don't know what it is, please go and check it out on the website at gatheringofchristchurch.org. Also, the academy starts on the 22nd of June. If you're not yet registered or enrolled, please go and enroll and be a part of this new academy. Quick announcement as well. If you're in the United Kingdom, and you'd like to fellowship with us, we will be in London this week, this Sabbath, alright, at the Peabody Community Hall. If you haven't done so already, please send us an email at gocc144uk@gmail.com if you'd like to fellowship with us and be a part of the church going forward, alright, that is gocc144uk@gmail.com, alright, and have I missed anything? Hope I haven't. Anyways, I'll come back and fill you in on whatever it is that I've missed. Alright, so sit back and spread the word. Let everyone know that we're live. Alright, we have a guest on tonight, and he'll be with us. He'll be joining us very shortly. Should be very interesting. This guest is an author, and I'll let you know who he is in about 5 minutes. Alright, so grab your pens, papers. Hit 1 if you have questions, okay? Elder Rakar, good evening, how you doing?
Shalom, brother, how are you? I'm doing good.
I'm well, man, I'm well. All praises to the Most High. Been a very good weekend. Just here again to do it,
Yeah, all praises be to the Most High. Everything is going well. A lot of things happening in prophecy, in which I guess we're going to have a show soon, strictly based on what's going on according to Bible prophecy in the earth. There's a lot of things happening, so and we'll have a show soon on this. But I heard we have a special guest this evening.
Yes, we do actually. Brother Israe is pulling him in now as we speak. And
okay.
This guest gonna be very interesting. I've not yet disclosed to the listeners his name yet. I was just gonna wait for a couple of minutes until you came in, and then we could let the listeners know who it is that we have coming on. But it should be very interesting to speak with him. I came across some of the information he was putting out, and I mean it should be just to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Okay.
So,
so I guess the information tonight, this is more so a political as well as historical show, in which I think this particular guest has some detailed insight on the Middle East and the occupation, or what you would call, that's what they call it, the occupation of Israel, of modern day Israel.
Yes.
Okay. And I think some of what's being brought forth, which is true history, can be quite controversial. So we
must can be able to have a discussion, and at the end of the day, you'll say, all right, then, because we all facing the same plight,
exactly.
when the previous guest that came on, when he was correct, say that the Jews built the pyramid and it's written in the Bible, when he was corrected, he took offense to it. You understand me? Irritated Genie was similarly corrected on the virgin birth, and there was no offense taken. You understand me?
Exactly.
And when you look at it, man, I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for the brother, man, and if he's listening, man, I hope to talk with him soon. And when you look at what he's doing a lot of good work. He's raising a lot of awareness as to what's with the feminization of black men, and that's a real problem. You understand me?
Exactly.
That's like vaccines. It's
exactly.
real.
Exactly.
So I mean,
and one thing I really respect about him is that you can tell that even when things came corrected, he didn't dispute the correction. He just, you understand, he kind of figured that this was a discussion that should have happened a long time ago, in which two people on quote-unquote what you would call opposing sides come to some type of mutual consensus to see where do we disagree from. What is the point of disagreement when we all agree with the same point of protecting ourselves as far as the New World Order and the powers that be that are working against us? And I can respect that, to let you know that it wasn't about how smart he is, you understand, or whether or not he had more information than us. It wasn't that at all. To him, he was happy with the dialogue because he was able to learn a few things and understand where we're coming from. And still, the door was open for us to have further dialogue and conversation. Hats off. I totally respect the brother, because when he see that he's wrong, and that's another point. If we see we're wrong, we should be able to look at each other and say, you know what, we're wrong. I need to re-examine this. I need to look at this a different way. So I think that when people come on with all these degrees and all these extra alphabet before or after their names, I think those alphabet blind their understanding, or blind them from receiving. And that's the difference I see between this brother Irritated Genie really have a love for the embetterment of the people. So, and I know he's probably listening, and there's much respect to him, not because of Pan Africa or whatever he's dealing with, but based on him as a person and his fervent spirit towards uplifting the people, and that cannot be denied. And I'll tell you, you can have a lot of people who are Israelites that don't have that. So it's deeper than someone just saying they're Israel or following the Bible. It's the principles that this brother hold dear to, and he's standing with truth And who knows? He may come around. We're going to see what happens after next week. But real quick before we bring the guest in, because I know he's probably in queue. In response to some of the letters we're getting claiming that we're too nice, let me read this from Romans 12, and I'm going to start with the 9th verse. It says, "Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love. In honor, preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Most High. Rejoice in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Distributing to the necessity of the saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and do weep with them that weep. Be the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceit." So the scriptures clearly tells us that we should have love one towards another, and we should be able to condescend to men who don't know quite the same information we know. And that's what the Bible says. It's not always about a confrontation and someone coming out claiming they won an argument or a debate. What good is winning a debate when we're still fragmented, destitute, and the whole world is looking to destroy us anyway? So what good is what, you're going to pump your chest for a week and say, okay, I won a debate? So it's deeper than that. So I wanted to put that out there for those who think that the gathering of Christ Church and elders and brethren are just too nice. And I don't think it's nothing wrong with being nice to people. I mean, what world do we live in that you get attacked for being nice to someone? So that lets you know how. Yeah, what'd you say?
Now I'm saying, trying to bring truth. People saying you're too nice, and I mean, we have had discussions that have gone totally the opposite, where things had to get shut down, and then and people will still say that, well, we should have let the brother talk. I remember not so long ago we had a brother on who's coming with a new Bible, with saying that there needs to be a new Messiah or something like that. And the conversation ended up abruptly because we had to shut it down there and then people said that we should have let the brother talk, and there is no winning sometimes with some people, you understand?
It seems no matter what side, no matter what we do, there's going to always be someone that will disagree with whatever happens.
Yes.
If it's abrupt and there's an argument or something go back and forth, they'll say we're being disrespectful. If we're nice and let a brother or sister bring their point, be it we agree or disagree, then we're being too nice because we should not have allowed them to say. You know what I mean? So I guess that's what's going on with this World Wide Web. You get all kinds. So we got to take the good with the bad. Take the bad with the good, rather. All right. So is our guest in queue yet?
No, he's not just yet. Azariah is still there trying to get him in. So he's just asking me to just give him a couple more minutes, if that's okay. I was wondering, would you want to take some calls, and while we wait, just go to the callers and speak to a few people while we wait for the guests to come in?
Yeah, I definitely want to take some calls. But before we go there, I want to put out there to brothers and sisters that we just concluded, and I thank the brothers and sisters who just participated in the last quarter of the Hebrew and Bible Academy. And I want to put out there that we have an enrollment that we've extended for the next one up to Friday, June the 20th. So we're here at the 11th. If you want to get in the next academy, which is the week after next, starting on a Sunday, June the 22nd, then you are to send an email to gatheringas1@AOL.com and let us know you're interested. We'll let you know exactly how to get in. And yes, there is a small fee, but for what you get, it's well worth it, because there's a lot of work that go behind the scenes to allow us to come before you every Sunday with all the documents. We send you the documents, we send you the references, we give you all the information you need to know to build from nothing. And a lot of work goes in behind the scenes. So if you're interested, send an email. We have the Hebrew Bible Academy, in which we have the news, up-to-date news. We have the Hebrew. Matter of fact, we just came up with some new breakdowns, new understanding with the Hebrew, with lawyers' part. And we have the scriptural study, in which, for those who haven't participated, understand that we send you the PDFs with the complete document with the understanding, references, and scriptures in it. Well prepared. All you have to do is sit before your computer and share and learn. And I'll tell you, with this information, no matter what scenario you're placed in concerning Christianity, Islam, Persian mythology, no matter what people are bringing out there, you'll be able to actually defend the gospel and bring the truth and show them the origin of their false religion and slowly but surely bring them to the understanding of the Most High. So that's our hope, and it's been working fine. And if you want to participate, June 22nd, send an email. We don't want it to be the last